Please stand for the invocation and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Good evening. I invite you to bow your heads with me as we pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you today for your goodness, mercy, and your great generosity upon the United States of America and upon all of us here in Fort Worth, Texas. We thank you for your love and care for this community and for the privilege of serving the people of this city. We thank you for blessing our mayor, Mayor Parker, and our entire city council. We thank you for your blessing on all of our city employees. We ask you, Father, to give our mayor and our city council the grace, the strength, and the wisdom they need to make godly decisions as they guide our community. Let them know exactly what to do as they seek your will. Father, we also ask you for your safety and protection upon all of our law enforcement officers. We ask you to protect them as they go throughout their daily duties, protecting and keeping us safe. We pray for the family and loved ones of Tarrant County Sheriff Deputy Bill Sheets, who just passed away a week ago while serving our community. We ask for your love and comfort to fill the hearts of his family and friends. Father, we also cry out to you now for safety and protection over all of our children and our schools. We pray that you would give us the strength and wisdom to know how to protect our children and keep them safe. We cry out for healing, comfort, and strength to all the families and loved ones who lost lives in Uvalde, Texas. We pray that the Holy Spirit would continue to strengthen them and give them peace. Finally, Father, we pray that your love and your harmony would fill our city. We pray that all people of all races and religions would come together as one family. Bind us together with mutual love and respect for one another. Let us work together to bring safety, healing, and peace to our city. Help us protect our children and teenagers. Remind us that we should feed the hungry and clothe the naked. And help us to make this city of Fort Worth a place of great peace and prosperity. We thank you once again, Father God, for your blessing upon this meeting and upon all that are gathered here. In the name of our Lord Jesus, we pray. Amen.
I know, it's kind of cool. Yeah. Our first item of business will be special presentations, with the first presentation of a proclamation for the 25th anniversary of Riverside Alliance.
That would be me. Give me just a second here. Hi, Rick. How are you? Good to see you.
Most definitely.
Oh, come on down. Good to see you. You too. I'll just get right back there. Of course. Yeah. Hi, I'm Jan. Nice to meet you. What's that? Okay, y'all are going to kick off our party today. It's nice to be with you. Riverside Alliance celebrated their 25th anniversary with an event on May 5th, 2022. The 25th anniversary was actually in 2020, but the Riverside Alliance was unable to celebrate due to COVID. We recognize this is a huge milestone, just about 2 years late with the official anniversary, But truly, 27 years, the Riverside Alliance was established in 1995. I'm going to read the proclamation, but I think it's worth mentioning too, and all of my fellow council members can attest to this. The redistricting process was one for the ages, and I think all of us have agreed we will not be here in 10 years to go through that again. But importantly, we had a lot of wonderful community advocates, and Riverside Alliance were probably top-notch, truly. And importantly, had solutions, were willing to compromise and build consensus along the way. Rick, you did a great job shepherding that process, so we're really thankful for you, and so it's with great honor we're going to honor you guys today. So I'll read the proclamation. Whereas a coalition of the neighborhood associations in the Riverside community of Fort Worth have served Riverside in countless ways over the past 25 years. Founded in 1995, Riverside Alliance was the first alliance of neighborhoods to be established in the city of Fort Worth and was the originator of the Neighborhood Alliance concept in the city of Fort Worth. And whereas the concept provides a forum for communication and cooperation among the various neighborhood groups in Riverside. And whereas the numerous neighborhood alliances which have been established in Fort Worth since the founding of Riverside Alliance in 1995 have all been modeled on the Riverside Alliance. And whereas the city of Fort Worth congratulates Riverside Alliance as it celebrates 25 years of service and recognizes the impact of the Riverside Alliance on the Riverside community and beyond. And therefore, the city of Fort Worth does hereby recognize and celebrate May 5th, 2022 in the observance of the 25th anniversary of the Riverside Alliance. Congratulations to y'all. Thank you.
Well, I won't take much time, but thank you, Mayor Parker and council, for this honor and this proclamation. And as the mayor said, we are a couple of years late celebrating, but there were a lot of other organizations and groups that couldn't do their functions and celebrations in the past couple of years. But I'm joined here tonight by many current and former leaders of neighborhood associations in Riverside that make up the Riverside Alliance, and so honored to have them. And one of our, Sarah Walker, one of our founders, she's never been bashful, but she wouldn't come down here with us. But we appreciate this honor, and thank you so much. Thank you, Mayor. Get my good side.
There you go. Got your good side. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Perfect. And then horizontally, because we know we got to take all the right angles. There you go.
Oh, another one.
Oh, sorry. One more.
Okay. All right. 1, 2, 3. Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Yeah. Before I go back to the podium, I'm going to embarrass her, Beth Ellis, who lives in Riverside. I am her 4th mayor to schedule for. If you want to know how the city of Fort Worth runs, it's that lady right there, and she deserves a round of applause for all that she puts up with. That is
The next presentation is a presentation of a proclamation for William Madison Gooseneck Bill McDonald.
All right, thank you. All right, thank you, Mayor and Council, for allowing us to do this today. We have a proclamation. I read it, and then I'll let these gentlemen have some words. Forward proclamation, Office of the Mayor. Whereas this June, we celebrate the life and accomplishments and legacy of Fort Worth's first documented Black millionaire, businessman, and banker, William Madison Gooseneck Bill McDonald. At this celebration, we are observing the importance of citizens coming together to recognize the outstanding man contributions, work ethics, geniuses, dedication, and love for both entrepreneurship and his people. And whereas the William Madison Gooseneck Bill McDonald Week will provide a spotlight for the public to witness the importance and the brilliance of this multi-talented Black business pioneer who paved the way for many residents living in the DFW area across the nation. And whereas we celebrate a man whose gifts and talents have allowed him to rise from poverty as a sharecropper to an educator at a school principal by the age of 19. As a prominent figure, he also owned and established and built by Black Masons the fraternal Black Bank Trust that survived intact before, during, and after the Great Depression. The Gym Hotel, a drugstore, and owner of several properties. As a political advocate, he helped establish the Republican Party Black and Tan faction. In his area and his business venue owner, his stage were graced by the top A-list music performers from Texas and abroad, such as Cab Calloway, Ellis Fitzgerald, and countless of more. And whereas, in sharing this community, Development Corporation, Black Wall Street, Fort Worth, Texas, and other organizations are always proud to honor one of its own who had a major impact on how the spirit of Black excellence manifests itself right here in Fort Worth, Texas, and abroad. And whereas, the William Madison Gooseneck Bill McDonald Fund has enabled the Community Development Corporation to host a business financial literacy class for free to the public, and hospitality and hotel owner management program to be offered at the McDonald YMCA that is still going and thriving, named after Mr. McDonald, and scholarship programs, thus continuing the legacy of Mr. McDonald based on freedom and access to the Republic. Therefore, now the City of Fort Worth does hereby honor and recognize the service and contribution of Mr. William Madison Gooseneck Bill McDonald. Let's give him a round of applause. That was quite a bit to read. Yes, it was. I hope I can leave a legacy that can read thus far. So we'll have words, please.
First of all, I want to say thank you to this city council that's been assembled for a time like this. I got 6 decades under my belt, and I've been searching. I probably lived on somewhere all over the United States, and I've been searching for those heroes to pattern myself out there, and he was right here at home. And so as I dig and learn about his life, we're able to share that with y'all. We just couldn't keep it to ourselves because we couldn't sit on it. So I see some of you that are maybe sitting here in council right now that have put some things out about this fantastic man and his life. So we actually piggybacked on that, and we just want to share it with the world. So I want to say thank you for reading this proclamation into being. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Also, I would like to also thank you all for also signing this and bringing in the proclamation as well. And invite you all out to William Gooseneck McDonald Week, which will be June 19th through the 25th. We have about 5 events going, well, 3 personal events where you can be invited to. Most of them will be on Facebook and other social media platforms. But we definitely want you to stay posted. My name is Angelico McKinney. You can get with Cecil Collier, and you can look at our pages and see what's coming up with William Gooseneck McDonald Week, and know that June the 22nd, we will be having a good time for William Gooseneck McDonald. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Bivens, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. And yes, to my colleague, Councilmember Nettles, you did leave a legacy right there at the microphone. But I want to just tell you about the input and engagement of citizens. We've never had a Gooseneck McDonald Week in the history of Fort Worth. Wow. And I'm approaching 7 decades. Yes, Sarah, you know. But what I want you to know, I will be partying with you, whatever you're going to be doing that week, I'll do that with you. But I also want the entire audience to know that Trinity Metro has a historic wall that chronicles Black history in Fort Worth dating back to the 1800s. Sarah helped put that together. Now, here's the deal about that history. When you mentioned the Gym Hotel, most people know my dad as a preacher. But Sarah, before Daddy found Jesus, he sang the blues, as you know, at the Gym Hotel. And so this was just very special for me. And I see Harriet and Paul in the audience. Harriet, it was because of your leadership with Leadership Fort Worth, I learned the importance of the position of Gooseneck's monument. And it's to scoff at the Klan, the way it was angled. I didn't know that until Leadership Fort Worth. So there is so much history in Fort Worth that brings us all closer together. And Misters McKinney and Collier, I just say thank you for making this happen. Let's do it every year. And who knows, you may do like Opal and get it to be a national thing. Thank you.
We got postcards that has Burris's likeness on the outside for the public. So if you want to, as you're on your way out, if you want to get one, you can either keep it for a keepsake or you can mail it to somebody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Mayor.
Mayor Parker?
The next presentation is a presentation of proclamation for Pride Month.
If I could have Alexandra Thurston, Drew Goodman, Victor Salazar, Sydney Allen, and Officer Chris Gorey, please join me here at the podium. Oh, there's only three. Well, we'll get four. It's okay. Mayor and Council, the folks that are standing behind me today as I read this proclamation are a very special group of people in our LGBTQ community because they're City of Fort Worth employees. And what they do and why we chose to honor them this year is because they really work to make us stronger as a city, both internally and externally, through engaging us with Pride Month activities, by acting as a community liaison for the police department. We really couldn't do this without them, and so it is my true honor this year to present this Pride Proclamation to the City of Fort Worth employees that work to make all of our lives better and to make us a city that truly does mean y'all means all. And so I will hand this to you. All right, so mine will not be as long as Chris's, as per usual. Whereas the City of Fort Worth is committed to fostering a welcoming community where y'all means all. And whereas the City of Fort Worth has long been a leader on equal rights, Fort Worth boasts the oldest Human Relations Commission in the state. In 2000, Fort Worth became one of the first cities in the state to include sexual orientation in its non-discrimination ordinance. And again in 2009 by adding transgender, gender identity, and gender expression to its ordinance. Whereas the Fort Worth Police Department and the Fort Worth Fire Department have LGBTQ community liaisons to strengthen relationships with both the departments and with the community. And at the city manager's direction, the Diversity and Inclusion Employee Committee was created to foster an inclusive environment for all employees. These efforts have resulted in the City of Fort Worth receiving a 100 on the Human Rights Campaign Municipal Equality Index. And whereas the City of Fort Worth has a thriving lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer questioning community and is committed to supporting visibility, dignity, and equality for the LGBTQ people in our diverse community. And whereas from the Stonewall riots in 1969 to the Rainbow Lounge Raid in 2000, members of the LGBTQ community have long been marginalized and targeted for discrimination. Celebrating Pride Month influences awareness and provides support and advocacy for the City of Fort Worth's LGBTQ community and is an opportunity to act and engage in dialogue to strengthen alliances, build acceptance, and advance equal rights. And whereas the City of Fort Worth joins our LGBTQ residents to observe Pride Month by honoring the LGBTQ community and their contributions to the City of Fort Worth. Thank you.
Chris, could you help me with those mollies? And for the members of our LGBTQ community, I'd invite you to come up, take a photo, and we also have a very special Pride Month molly, thanks to Fort Worth PD and Chris Gorey for making sure that we have all of those today. So come on down. Don't be bashful. Come on. Thank you. I know I'm all just fine. Just sorry. Did you get a pride molly? Okay, did anybody else get a pin? Does anyone else need a pin? Sorry, it's confusing. How are you? Good to see you. Did you get one? Did you get one? All right. Everyone have one? Okay. All right. All right. They'll have to be where they.
Breathe in. One more plane.
On three, I'll go first. Ready? 1, 2, 3. And another.
Separate.
And another. And another. And another. And another. And another. All right. Got it. Everyone over here. Thank you. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you.
See Councilwoman Ann Zeta. Ann, thank you for coming tonight. It's good to see you. Are you going to enjoy leaving now? Is that what's going to happen? Yeah. Yeah, she didn't want it. She didn't want it.
Our next item is MMC 22-0402. And Mayor, we have one speaker for that item.
It's on the last page. Vicky Vargas. Is Vicky here? There she is. Hi, Vicky.
Good evening, Mayor Parker, City Council, women and men. My name is Vicky Vargas, and I reside in District 9. When I posted tonight's meeting on Nextdoor inviting people to come tonight, a neighbor responded by asking what was the significance of the name change. I responded by telling her that Ezekiel Vasquez believed in organized sports, that they were character builders, taught teamwork, and kept kids, especially boys, out of trouble. With this belief, coupled with his love of baseball, he looked for some property to develop into ball fields and a park and organized the south side of the league. So Ezekiel built his ball fields. You know, build it and they will come, and come they did. Year after year during the spring and summer, you could see all these little boys and young men playing ball. He got the parents to help him maintain the fields and parks because Ezekiel knew that only with parental involvement would this become a real success. We all watched as these kids grew up to be professionals, business owners, policemen, firefighters, and more. None of this would have been possible if Ezekiel Vasquez had not had the vision to develop a piece of land and to develop true men of character. When Ezekiel passed away, his funeral procession passed the ball fields and park. That kind of devotion and love cannot go unrecognized. Thank you, City Council, representatives, and especially Elizabeth Beck for naming this park for a man who truly deserves recognition.
Thank you, Vicki. I think tonight we have David Vasquez. Is David here? And wife Tony. Hi, David. And Victor as well, and wife Amanda and daughter Lauren are also here. Nice to see y'all. Thank you very much for coming.
Yeah, I'd like to recognize my Uncle Paul, who thinks he's a teenager, and he just celebrated 90 years of the thing, and he's doing really well. I'd like to thank the City Council also for hoping that you will name the park for Ezekiel Vasquez, my father. There's a lot of people here tonight, and I'd like them to please stand at this time that are here from our Worth Heights family, I should say, that are here in support of the thing. If y'all please stand at this time, you know, and you know. It was a big journey for him. He fought and he to get the city to get the park built in the community, and he wanted it to get kids inspired, much like Patrick Zamarripa, the person that we'll be discussing in the next item on the agenda. He was looking forward to getting those kids involved in the community and involved in the city of Fort Worth, and he did that. There was a lot of people that came through and are still doing things good for the city. So thank you.
You may have heard Ezekiel Vasquez truly does represent the epitome for us naming a park after somebody. Ezekiel was a Fort Worth native and a lifelong resident of Worth Heights. He wasn't just a resident. He was an Army vet, a community leader. He looked out for those in need, and above all, he was a lover of baseball. Ezekiel's love of baseball and commitment to his community are the very reasons why Echo Lake Park was created. It all started in the 60s when he noticed boys in his neighborhood of Worth Heights weren't playing ball. He pulled community donations together with his own dollars to provide equipment and built a diamond on the lot of his church, the Immaculate Heart of Mary Church. The field was so small that the right fielder stood in the street. The IHM League grew to 3 teams and out of their tiny space, so Ezekiel built yet another field to accommodate the growth. The league would eventually become the Southside Little League, and it deserved a proper home. In the 70s, Ezekiel worked with the Parks Department to place the purchase of Echo Lake and the construction of ball fields on a bond proposal. Sadly, that bond did not pass, but Ezekiel did not give up. He approached County Commissioner, then Dick Anderson, and collaborated to obtain a Texas Park and Wildlife grant to allow the county to purchase Echo Lake, and the Southside Little team finally had proper fields of their own. My predecessor, Wendy Davis, wrote in a Senate proclamation at his death that he was a man of integrity and gave his time generously to others. He did so because youth mattered to him and community mattered to him. He took the time to invest in both because he knew that investment would return and those would become leaders and serve their community the way Ezekiel did. One of those investments was Patrick Zamarripa, who was also a lifelong resident of Worth Heights. He grew up playing ball on those fields that Ezekiel worked to build. His love of community called him to serve as well. First in the United States Navy, where he served 3 tours of duty as an MP in Iraq. Patrick again chose to serve his community as a member of the Dallas Police Department. On July 7th, 2016, a sniper opened fire on Dallas police officers providing security for a protest. At the very young age of 32, Patrick lost his life in the service of others, leaving behind a beautiful little girl, a daughter, family, and friends that mourn him today. Patrick was a devoted family man, a proud police officer, and also an avid baseball fan. Tonight, we honor both of their memories in renaming of Echo Lake and their ball fields. This action is particularly meaningful because they will be the first city facilities in the South Side to be named after members of our very vibrant South Side Hispanic community. I cannot think of two better people to kick that off. The renaming comes as we begin the Siquio Vasquez Park master plan and undergo a $5 million renovation passed in our recent bond election. And I will make a promise to both families sitting here tonight, and Richard Zavala is looking at me sweating because now he's nervous when I make promises. But I can assure you that when we build those ball fields back, they will be the best ball fields in the city of Fort Worth's Park and Recreation Department. You have my word. I want to thank Eva Bonilla, my Parks Board representative who's here with us tonight. And I also want to thank all of our Parks and Recreation Department staff. Renaming of a facility, as I have learned, is not the easiest undertaking. And so I appreciate them working with all of us to make sure that we got this right and we did right by our community. And so with that, it is my distinct honor to make a motion to move to approve.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any other discussion, council? Please vote. I know, I think we've got a problem. Yeah. Not y'all, it's us. There we go, motion passed, perfect.
Next item is MMC 22-0403.
This is a company, and Elizabeth did a beautiful job outlining the importance of both these MNCs. In particular, this next item is the naming of a ball field complex, again located at Echo Lake Park, specifically to recognize Patrick Zamarripa for his contributions, both to the city of Fort Worth, to our entire country as a veteran, and to the city of Dallas. We're very, very fortunate today to have a few different people here representing the Zamarripa family. I believe Valerie, his mother, is here. Laura Reyes, sister. Officer Zamarripa's wife and daughters. And then the commander and former commander of the American Legion Post 569. And at the back of the room, we also have several different members of the Brotherhood Fort Worth chapter. I see Jimmy there. Thank you, Jimmy, for bringing your brothers and sisters with you. And also Brotherhood chapter from the city of Dallas. Thank you very much for making the trek westward. Hope we've imparted on you how much more fun we have here in Fort Worth. But importantly, how we want to recognize your officer who you lost, your brother, in line of duty in the city of Dallas. And the city of Fort Worth will not forget Patrick and his many contributions to the city of Fort Worth. So thank you for coming over this evening to recognize his life and legacy. It's not without notice for the entire city of Fort Worth. With that, I can turn to my other members of council. Would they like to say anything? Gina? No. You're stuck. You're good. Okay. Carlos,
Mayor?
did you want to say? Go ahead,
Yeah.
please.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to acknowledge someone in the audience who just spoke, David Vasquez. I had the privilege of serving with him on CCPD years ago, and admired him then, his leadership, and as they say, the apple does not fall from the tree. So the Vasquez family has some great legacy. Thank you for your service, David.
Thank you, Carlos. Council, if there's no other discussion, can I get a motion?
Mayor, before we make
Go
the
ahead.
motion, I'm so sorry. Valerie, if you'd like to come up and say a few words about Patrick, I'd appreciate it.
Hello, I'm Valerie Zamarripa, Patrick's mom. First of all, thank you. Thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you to Fort Worth, the City Council, all of Fort Worth, and to the Fort Worth Police Department, because they have embraced us with open arms, and whenever we ask for anything, they are always there. Patrick wasn't a Fort Worth PD, but he lived in Fort Worth. It is such an honor to the Vasquez family for allowing us to have Patrick share this with them, with their father, because we did know his father. Patrick played many years on that field and loved baseball. So with that, we thank you so wholeheartedly. We never imagined that this would happen, but we are so grateful and honored to you. So I thank you all. Thank you, Fort Worth. Thank you, Fort Worth PD, and we appreciate it so much, and the Vasquez family.
Thank you, Valerie. Can I get a motion, council?
I enthusiastically move to approve.
A motion and a second. Any other discussion? Please vote. Okay. And then you can hit and vote. I think we're good. Motion passes.
Next is the items to be withdrawn from the consent agenda.
There we go. We have a number of items to withdraw from the consent agenda as we have speakers. They are MNC 22-0421, MNC 22-0422, MNC 22-0456, MNC 22-0427, and MNC 22-0438. MNC 22-0462 will also be continued to January 28th. Oh, did I say January? June.
You trying to skip past 100-degree weather? Is that what you're doing?
June.
Just keep going. Okay.
Thank you.
Motion to approve the consent agenda as amended.
Motion and a second, council. Please vote. Yes.
Next item is MNC 22-0421.
We have one speaker on this item, Thomas Trolancasi.
The body camera's not on, is it?
Madam Mayor, I'm waiting for the timer to reset, I guess.
Yeah, set the timer to 3, please. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't think I'll take 3 minutes. But...
There we go.
All right. Madam Mayor and council members and citizens and neighbors, this is the kind of the pretty short-term replacement of 3 Bitcoin machines. I just want to make a couple points on this subject because it got a whole lot of press, including front page. The 3 previous machines, looking at the back documents, were 12 years old. And in the world of technology, something I'm not that adept at, 12 years old is ancient. My understanding from looking at the documents with this machine is that it is 3 years old. It is given and is donated. One of the things, kind of an environmental myth, is that these machines only use about the power of a vacuum cleaner. But the reality is this newer machine will use about 3 times as much power as the 3 it's replacing. And that's the starting point of energy consumption. So vacuum cleaners, most of you know this in your households, consume more electricity than anything in your house except for a microwave or an electric oven or if you have an electric dryer. But that's the starting point for power consumption. The way these gadgets work is they accelerate as they try to solve a puzzle in the blockchain so that 24/7, it will be consuming electricity on a pace that a household vacuum cleaner, which is 9 amps, will consume. The problem is that being 3 years old, it cannot compete with the $15,000 version. And the whole concept is designed to where it is competing with nearly 20 million of its competitor gadgets across the globe, trying to be the first to solve a puzzle, it's called, to assure the security of each transaction. So incrementally, this little gadget, at the expense of the taxpayers, may earn a few pennies in Bitcoin. Now, I don't know if you looked at the Bitcoin market in the last week. I'm not trying to make light of this, but I think that the city's been sold a bill of goods and that there's a company, an enterprise, that is exploiting the taxpayers in the city by making hay over bragging rights to have the first city in the country, at least large city, to embrace Bitcoin. It is a Ponzi scheme. It has no military or any government to back it as a commodity or a currency. It has no intrinsic value like the American dollar does. And whether you have money in it and you believe in it or not, the city or a government has no business in this specific enterprise.
Thank you, Thomas. That's the last of our speakers on this item, council. Can I get a motion? Thank you. And a second? Any other discussion? Please vote.
I'm voting yes. A while ago, I could start it.
Motion carries.
Next item is MMC 22-0422.
Council, we have two speakers. The first is Layla Talley. Nope, call, okay.
Ms.
Can you hear
Talley,
me?
please go ahead. You have 3 minutes.
Hello? Okay. Good evening, Council. I am Layla Talley, and I live in Council District 6. I vote for this agenda item. I prefer there to be a citizen-led committee to evaluate the rate increase. This is a more inclusive procedure. There has already been an 8.6% increase in inflation in the month of May. It was the highest jump since 1981. From the Oncor website, the rate increase is explained. For the average customer who uses 13 kilowatt hours per month with an 11-cent per kilowatt plan will be paying an additional $6.02 a month. It does not sound like much at all until I think of the grocery prices. I can buy a half-gallon grass-fed carton of milk for $4.99. I think I would rather buy milk than to pay a surcharge of $6.02. This also forces the ratepayer to ensure that they do not use more than 13 kilowatt hours per month in order to keep the cost low. I feel like this is an overreach. I'm going to take this opportunity while on the topic of Oncor. We do have another option that most people probably don't know about. In 2013, the Texas PUC authorized an opt-out program for the Oncor smart meters for a reason of a privacy concern and a health concern. If you would like more information on this topic, you may contact me on Nextdoor. My name is spelled L-A-I-L-A, and last name Talley, T as in Tom, A-L-L-E-Y, and I live in Wedgwood. You can't miss me in the lineup. I'm the one with the profile picture. I applaud Oncor for compromising with the ratepayers to allow for this choice to opt out of smart meters. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Talley. Our next speaker is Thomas Torlankasi.
I don't remember which, one of these works and one doesn't, so, which is troubling. Okay, Madam Mayor and council members, I stand back here to illustrate physically the disconnect sometimes between the citizens and the city government and the city council specifically. The council has begun to not read these measures. Some are pretty boring and difficult to understand. This is in essence Oncor proposing a rate hike for all of us. In the back papers, the proposed rate hike for residential users is 11.2%. Did everyone hear that? Is anyone in the room concerned about an 11.2% raise in your electric rates? The city's rate will be raised under the same proposal by 1.2%. In the back paper, it does not illustrate what the commercial rate will be, but anybody that's ever been a math teacher like me knows that if the overall rate increase is only 4.5%, then the commercial rate will stay the same or possibly go down. All of our costs as individual homeowners and residents, especially when it comes to our property taxes, have consistently been shifted heavier towards individual homeowners or property owners that rent to others and away from businesses, away from commercial development or commercial property owners. Honestly, the woman just mentioned something which didn't occur to me, which is citizen oversight. In the back papers, it suggests Mr. Cook, the city manager, employ or engage someone, consultants, to screen and consider this rate hike, which is a giant rate hike, given our experience with our power delivery in the last couple of years. I bet we could pick any 7 of the folks in this audience and do a better job than a consulting company could at countering what Oncor is proposing. And the worst part about this is Mr. Cook is paid $400,000 a year in payroll and benefits. We need 7 people who make $40,000 to $80,000 a year who are homeowners to provide input on residential rates for electricity and not people who run around with billionaires and their wives.
That's the last of our speakers on the item. Council?
I'm going to make the motion, Mayor.
Thank you, Gina. Go ahead.
And for those of you who don't know, we're having some technology challenges up here, and so that's why it appears to be kind of off. First, I'll let you all know that the Public Utility Commission oversees Oncor. I move to approve MNC 22-0422 with the following changes. Replace the attached ordinance with the revised version distributed by staff. In the 5th paragraph of the discussion section, change the first sentence to read, the original filing proposed an effective date of June 17th, but staff has been advised that Oncor has extended that effective date until August 1st. And that's the motion.
Thank you, Gina. I've got a motion, Council. Second. Motion a second. Any other discussion? You can vote.
Next item is MMC 22-0456.
Our first speaker is Daniel Hayes, followed by James Lawrence. You're not? Mm-hmm. Okay. Oh, well. James Lawrence, then? Is James here? Amber Sosa? No? Jerome Johnson? Maybe we got a little issue there. Okay. Yep, I think they've all, we'll fix that in a second. So there are no speakers on this item. Jerome, it's a wrong item, unless you want to talk about, or maybe you do. Are you here for permanent supportive housing?
Yes.
Wrong item. That's not your fault. That seems to be an error on our end.
Okay.
You think it is? Okay. Perfect. So we're going to clear this up. Let's start with James. Is James here? Go ahead, James. Sorry, Jerome. We'll get you back up here.
Good evening, Council and Mayor. My name is James Lawrence. I live in District Number 5. I'm here representing myself, and I encourage everyone to understand that home.
You come just a little closer to the microphone so we can hear you. Thank you so much.
home is like no other place. And so I think that everyone here would like to enjoy a home, and therefore I think it's important for all of us to understand that there are neighbors who don't have a home, and thereby having this one item approved will allow others, neighbors in our city to have a place to call home. So I appreciate it.
Thank you, James, for your advocacy. Amber Sosa?
Sorry, I was in the overflow room over there. Let's see. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak in favor of the motion for funding more permanent supportive housing here in our city. I think this is a really important topic and something that is really needing a lot more funding, because over the last 2 years, I'm sure we've all noticed a huge increase in number of neighbors who are now unhoused. Although this is a problem that's honestly just been getting worse over the last 10 years or so, if you've been paying attention. I've been working as a social worker in this city for coming up on about 5 years. I've worked in inpatient geriatric psych in one of our mental health hospitals here, and I've also worked as a housing case manager. And one of the things that I really like about permanent supportive housing is that, and one of the things that I think makes this something that should pass fairly easily, is that most of the individuals who qualify for permanent supportive housing are unable to re-enter the labor force. So we're talking about people who have struggled with serious mental illness, maybe their entire lives, people who have intellectual disabilities, older adults who don't yet qualify for Medicare, as well as people who just generally have physical disabilities, whether that's due to some type of injury or a serious medical diagnosis. These individuals are some of our most vulnerable members of our communities. I personally am heart-wrenched every time I see a person when I'm running along the Trinity Trail asking for money, maybe at a stoplight, pretty much every stoplight you go to, and I do live in District 3, even here in that area on that side of town. People are really pushing out. So I think it's important to fund something like this, and even though this might feel on your side of the table, and I don't know where your heart is on this issue, but it might feel like something that you're just kind of voting yes or no on, but for the 128 people that would finally get housing and not have to be baking out in the sun, suffering from heat strokes, suffering from just general lack of ability to care for themselves because they don't have a place to do so, it would be a life-changing opportunity for them to finally have somewhere to go. And I forgot to start my watch, so I don't know how long I've been talking. But basically, I would really appreciate it if you would vote yes.
Thank you for coming, Amber. Jerome Johnson, back up to the microphone, and I believe you're here with the group. Is that correct, Jerome? If you're here as part of the group with Jerome, can you please stand for a minute? Rachel Amerson, Nathan Kreitz, Heron, Tony Wilson, Bruce Frankel, Tabitha Williams, Kay Kiggins, Jessica Vacdetta, Steve Christian, Lauren King, Llewellyn Cole, and Dr. Frank Lonergan. Thank y'all all for coming tonight. Big group, thank you. Jerome, the floor is yours.
All right, thank you. Good evening, Mayor Parker and council members. My name is Jerome Johnson. I'm a resident of District 8, where my council rep is Mr. Christopher Nettles. And I'm a lifelong resident of Fort Worth. I serve as president of the Highland Hills Neighborhood Association. And tonight I'm here in my role as vice chair of the Homeless Coalition. I also previously served on the Continuum of Care Board as a neighborhood rep and served on the Community Development Council for 8 years, 5 of which I served as chair. I want to thank you for the opportunity to make a comment tonight about making an investment in housing for people experiencing homelessness. First, the city of Fort Worth has been committed to addressing homelessness for many years, continuing to show support by dedicating city general funds to the solution, something that no other municipality does locally. During my time on the COC board and CDC, this local investment had a significant impact on Fort Worth and how well our continuum performs. Your leadership on this issue has enabled Fort Worth to garner national attention and become a leader in the field. We do not know what we would do in our work without your support. I'm here to say thank you on behalf of the Tarrant County Homeless Coalition and to all of our partners. You're taking the opportunity of a lifetime by making transformational change in our community through investing in our work. As with many other things, Fort Worth is ahead of the game in addressing homelessness. With the investment you are making tonight, we will come incredibly close to the goal of an ending chronic homelessness in Fort Worth, and will likely be the largest city in the nation to ever accomplish this. We have seen so much success in Fort Worth when our leaders have chosen to invest in housing. Two shining examples are Casa de Esperanza and Quail Trail. Casa was created in 2020 with CARES dollars. Because of Fort Worth's investment, we were able to move 119 people off the streets and out of shelters. In fact, this enabled us to move the single largest group of unsheltered people off the street at one time, with around 70 people who were on the streets now calling Casa home. Additionally, Quail Trail is a unique residential development nestled in a neighborhood in Northwest Fort Worth. They will also house nearly 50 people who were on the streets and in shelters. Housing makes a difference, both to the person and to our community at large. I can't talk about these projects without mentioning the dedicated nonprofits and developers who are committed to building housing and giving people a second chance. They often work in innovative and non-traditional ways to create housing that meets people's needs and add values to neighborhoods where they're located. As council hopefully knows, the Homeless Coalition continues to advocate and work with other municipalities to secure additional funds for housing and to maximize all dollars available to transform how we respond to homelessness. In addition to the $22 million you all have so generously dedicated to the development of permanent supportive housing, the Homeless Coalition has submitted a request to the city for additional funding in the amount of $19.5 million. This funding would primarily be used to build deeply affordable housing for families and others who cannot make ends meet. Financially, the numbers just don't add up for these people, and they need help. This group often experiences homelessness because of economic reasons, primarily because their wages can't keep up with rapidly rising rental costs. The issue of homelessness is a great concern, especially for our low-income neighborhoods in our city, underserved communities, especially those communities of color. For example, African Americans make up 15% of the overall population of Tarrant County, yet African Americans make up 45% of the homeless population in Tarrant County. This can be greatly attributed to a lack of affordable housing options for people who have scarce income and meager resources. As I close, I would like to once again say thank you. Thank you for your dedication and commitment to being a part of the solution to homelessness. Over the years, your investment in and continued support of this issue has made a difference and has allowed our system to reduce the number of people experiencing homelessness. Please know that the Tarrant County Homeless Coalition is your partner in this and is also committed to finding solutions that work for everyone in our community. The Homeless Coalition and our partners encourage the city to consider continued support and investment in housing. With this investment, we can ensure that Fort Worth continues to be a vibrant community where everyone has a place to call home.
Our next speaker is Harriet Harrell, and I believe Harriet also is representing a group, Crathen Godby, Cherry Langford, Paul Harrell, Lovita Estes, Merrill Glasscock, Elise Walker, Josh Lucas, David Griebel, Jennifer Nelson, Kathleen, Julie Griffin, Dan White. We've got more than enough. Hi, how are you, Harriet?
Great, thank you for this opportunity. I've lived in Fort Worth for 35 years, all of that time in District 9. For the last 25 of those years, as Gina mentioned earlier tonight, I've directed the Leadership Fort Worth program. And for all 25 of those years, we have made sure that our participants had the opportunity to learn about the issues of homelessness in our city. Some of you sitting here helped with that. Some of you participated in the classes learning about it. We did things such as participating in the homeless count. We experienced simulations of homelessness. We served meals at Broadway's Agape Meal, and we visited one-on-one with people who are homeless. In 2005, I facilitated the homeless committee that resulted in Directions Home and a coordinated effort toward housing first. And I believe that's where we created the mission statement, making homelessness rare, short-term, and non-recurring in Fort Worth. So I've been privileged through these years to observe the city's work, and I can speak to the amazing progress the city has made in addressing this ubiquitous issue. I'm here to say a personal thank you for your work and for that of city councils over the years to make a difference for our residents without housing. Tonight, I'm here representing the Justice Committee of Broadway Baptist Church, and I'm not the only one from Broadway, and I would like to ask our group, you read some of their names, but I'd like to ask our group to stand. Woohoo! There are many reasons to work towards sustainable housing for all. For our congregation, it is our faith that fuels a belief that everyone deserves a home. This is what drives our actions for justice, and it's what brings us here tonight. Other valid reasons involve the overall health of Fort Worth. Our city can't be completely economically viable. It cannot guarantee a high quality of life. It cannot be truly great if significant numbers of our own population are without homes. In Leadership Fort Worth, we often refer to a statement from Robert Greenleaf, the father of servant leadership, who said that the test of every decision should be, do those we serve or lead grow as persons? Do our constituencies, while being served or led, become healthier, wiser, freer, more autonomous, more likely themselves to become servant leaders? And have we considered the impact of our decision on the least privileged in society? Will they benefit, or at least not be further deprived? Over the years, I've become convinced that our city leaders, you, previous councils, and our fabulous city staff can answer these questions with a strong yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Harriet.
Over the last several months, Broadway has worked closely with Tara Perez and Directions Home, as well as Lauren King and the Tarrant County Homeless Coalition. We have great respect for their excellent work on how to use the American Rescue Plan funding to change the face of homelessness in Fort Worth. The opportunity that ARPA has given us is astounding, and we thank you again for your commitment to use this money in ways that are transformational. Tonight is another opportunity. Tonight, you have the opportunity to allocate some of those ARPA funds that you have already approved for permanent supportive housing. And it's exciting to me, and I think it must be joyful to you to have been here through the process of making that allocation and now to see progress already happening. These projects are in District 3 and in District 8, and we are urging approval of all. We've seen the positive results of the city's investment in permanent supportive housing. Casa de Esperanza, as mentioned, has housed 119 chronically homeless, but has also provided case management for them. New Leaf or Quail Trail houses 50 people in homes that look like single-family homes and fit seamlessly in the neighborhood. Palm Leaf Apartments had an immediate reduction in police calls and crime, and residents in that neighborhood have said the project made a positive impact on the community. These developments have certainly made a positive impact on their residents. So we express gratitude to you for making these good things happen, and we encourage you to approve tonight's proposal for these permanent supportive housing projects. We also want you to know that Broadway, and I'm sure other congregations as well, want to partner with you to find solutions that work for everyone in our community so that we can ensure Fort Worth is a vibrant community where everyone has a place to call home. Thank you.
Thank you, Harriet. Our next speaker is Bruce Frankel, followed by India Tuck. Come on down, Bruce.
My name is Bruce Frankel. I'm the Executive Director of DRC Solutions, and we're a partner with not only the Paulus Foundation and Flora Brewer with Palm Tree, but also with New Leaf and the Quail Trail Project, and then the proposed Camp Bowie project. And I wanted to thank the previous speakers. I don't really have much to say after that. They were so eloquent. Fort Worth is a wonderful community, and these projects allow people that don't have the wherewithal to find a home. We have many people on our streets who are chronically homeless. Fort Worth really does have the opportunity to end chronic homelessness. We've made great advances over the last 2.5 years, in particular with Tara Perez's leadership and Lauren King's leadership. These projects will add another 100+ housing for folks that are chronically homeless, reducing the number of people on the streets that are chronically homeless to fewer than 200. So we are very close to being the first city in the United States to end chronic homelessness. I've had an opportunity to speak with many of you. I've had an opportunity to speak with many leaders in neighborhood associations. These projects can be complicated. They provide challenges to people moving into homes, to people accepting programs like this into neighborhoods, but working together, there's a solution to all of this, and the entire community benefits. Whether you have a heart for the homeless or whether you're upset about people that are vagrant and on the streets, one solution meets the requirements of both those needs, and that's housing people. So I wanted to thank you all for your support. It's an incredible council, it's an incredible city, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Bruce. Is India Tuck here? India? Come on, India.
Hello, I am India Tuck, and I'm not particularly sure which district I'm in, but I'm in the east side of Fort Worth. But I want to be one of the people who are speaking against this. The reason I'm against this is not because I'm not for the homeless, that I'm not for finding opportunities for these people to have homes, but I'm concerned about the allocation of the funds. There are 3 different organizations that these funds are going to go to, and one of those is a private business, and that private business is going to allocate some of the funds to be used for certain units in their development. And for me, I believe that if we were going to help our homeless people, what we need to do is take that money and use that money for our citizens one-on-one. And in my mind, I look at how the planning of this has come about, and I don't feel like citizens have been involved. I was not aware of this. Many of the people in my area were not aware of what was going on and not touched with what the intent of this money being used for was. So I would like to encourage you all to, yes, I agree, let's do something to help our community and to help our homeless people, but 128 people, $91,000 per person, that's a lot of money that we're going to be investing in these people. I want them to succeed, but I believe with $11.6 million, we could help more. And that's what I'm looking for. That's what the people in my area and community are looking for. If we're going to get the homeless people homes, let's get them faster by helping them one-on-one and by also making sure that these people are not only just provided a home, but provided a network of opportunities to get beyond this homeless issue that they're dealing with, because it's beyond just finding a home. You have to have jobs, you have to have health care. There's a myriad of issues that tie into the homelessness issue. So I would encourage you guys to just make sure that when you are approving this, because I understand that this is important, that we are keeping our ears to the ground, talking to our citizens, and keeping our eyes on what this money is being spent for. 128 people, I believe, is not enough for the amount of money that's going to be spent. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, India. That's the last of our speakers. I'll call on Mayor Pro Tem Bivens first.
Thank you. And Ms. Tuck, thank you for your remarks. Tara, are you in the audience anywhere?
She's at the back.
Okay. I want you to get with Ms. Tuck, because what you described, the void you see, is exactly what this does. That's why the term permanent supportive housing comes into play. Now, I was reminded, Fernando, when we had our committees, and that was you staffed it for Jungus and I. And we had the opportunity to take the funds, ARPA funds, money from DC, to meet needs of people. And I bragged on Fort Worth everywhere, because we were the only ones who were able to meet the greatest need and not send any money back to DC. And you might recall when other cities were sending back, my directive to staff was, don't send a dime back. If we have to spend money on masks for children, which we did, we used the money to the greatest benefit. I am so touched by what I heard tonight. Harriet, we have received so much hate mail about this from people who do not understand. But when you have permanent supportive housing, you get the counseling, you get financial literacy, you get access to services. I am so encouraged because of the hard work of staff. And I just wanted to mention that to you. I wrote down another note. We also pulled in Perry Pillow from the Apartment Association. We pulled in Julie Butner from Tarrant Area Food Bank to make sure during COVID, especially when people were losing access to homes, they had help. We even brought out the pretty much hidden Buddhist community in Fort Worth, and they have been providing meals every week since COVID started. But we have to be able to give people keys. I was a reporter in San Antonio, and I never will forget looking up at the roof of a woman's house, and I saw the sky. She had no roof. The floor, dirt. She was almost homeless. And so Fort Worth has made strides. We're taking care of people. Harriet, your church, many churches, Maddie, I didn't see you, U.S. Attorney there in the audience, but it takes all of Fort Worth to make all of Fort Worth whole. And so I want to thank you all for showing up tonight and not being silent to voice this support and voice this concern. And Tara, I think if you give the definitions of permanent supportive housing, everything the East Side ladies talked about, you'll see those needs met. And so with that, I'm excited.
Thank you, Gina. Well said. Appreciate that. Councilmember Nettles?
Yes, thank you, Mayor and Mayor Pro Tem. And I want to start by always encouraging our fellow citizens to watch the work session on the Tuesdays where we deal with all the technicalities of what's going to go in each thing that we vote on City Council. It's so much information, and Tara Perez did a great job. Tarrant County Homeless Coalition did a great job explaining what is going to happen. And so we have two units that are going, two different units that's going to come that's going to be completely permanent supportive housing. And then there will be one unit, which is the private entity, that we will house non-permanent supportive housing. So what we are trying to do is everywhere, any place, find a unit so that each individual can have a supportive housing. And one of the things that I want to talk about is COVID taught us a lot. One of the things that taught us is what my pastor taught me all my years is that life is like a vapor. You can be here today and you can be gone tomorrow. But the other thing that COVID taught us is that all of us is just a paycheck away from being in a situation where we will need housing. A paycheck away, being in a situation where we would need a help. Not a handout, but a hand up. And so this is what we're doing with permanent supportive housing. As my colleague talked about earlier, that y'all means all. All of us deserve a right to have a house, a right to have a place to stay. And so one of the things they taught me as when I was playing football, yes, it looks like that I didn't play football, but I did. And one of my coaches always tell me that we are as strong as our weakest link. And so if this person is not making it, then the team doesn't make it. And so we have to reach back and pull everybody up to where we're trying to go. And if we are going to be the 12th largest city in this U.S., then we have to set the tone, be the city that is moving things forward. Our mayor is doing a great job in making sure this council moves things forward. And so I am greatly and excited about what we're doing today. And again, I will allude to what Mayor Pro Tem talked about, that each one of those places will have a wraparound service. And so they will have counselors there on site. They will be able to get food. They'll be able to do whatever they need to do so that we just don't give them keys, but we give them a new life and a new pathway forward. And so thank you for all of you who spoke tonight. I am greatly excited. And for that, I am supporting this MNC today. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Councilmember Crane, and then Beck.
Thank you. I think Councilman Nettles stole a lot of my remarks there, and I want to see pictures of football. I don't know that it really happened, but we'll see that. I just want to say thanks. I see a lot of friends out in the audience today. Thanks for those that spoke up. Thanks for the people that submitted comment cards. I'll say this. When I first met my wife, she got up on Saturday mornings, went down to what was then called the Day Resource Center, and washed clothes for the homeless. That's how she spent her Saturdays morning, no matter how late we stayed out Friday night, and we were dating, so remember those were late nights back then, but it has been a passion of hers for a long period of time. And Bruce was just kind of starting over there, I think a little bit, but it's been a passion for her, even back to her Girl Scout Gold Award days of building a Serenity Garden for the homeless back in her hometown. So I say that because, as Councilman Nettles say, a lot of us are one paycheck away from being homeless ourselves. So we have to have the compassion and the desire to help, and I'm glad I'm sitting in a position today to do that. I want to thank Tom Purvis and Randy Gideon for working with me on a site in District 3 that will work for the community. And Tara, I know, and the other people that played a role there. I see Lauren King out there as well. Thank y'all again for the passion to help Broadway. I know y'all have blown us up today, and I appreciate that as well, and the other churches in the area. I want to echo this so people understand this. This is permanent supportive housing. I know it's been set up here on the dais a few times. It probably will be said again, but the support is what's important here. These are probably the people that are going into this are some of our most vulnerable population. They need the services that this will provide. I've visited some of the other services, other places around Fort Worth and seen that it works. It works for our population, and we've got to help them. We are a large city. We've got large city issues, and we've got to do what we can to help them. And as the only active real estate broker that sits on this dais, I understand how important a home is. On a daily basis, that's what I'm doing. But those people can afford it. Sometimes they can't. You know, we're dealing with the market that we're dealing with right now. So that's why I'm proud to support this, and I don't think the motion's been made. I'm gonna go ahead and make the motion to move forward and approve this. I know there's some other speakers there, but I wanna put that motion out there. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Councilmember Beck?
I'll go ahead and provide that second for you, Michael. I appreciate your words. I really want to thank everyone on council. We're all relatively new here, one of us newer than the others. But we came together and really decided to do something that was going to change the face of our city for a generation with these ARPA dollars. And so I'm really proud to sit up here with everybody who you have seen nod their head in agreement, wholeheartedly supporting our efforts to house the most vulnerable in our community. And so I talked about doing something revolutionary with those dollars, and I want to make sure that everybody in this room understands that this is one time we're spending this money, but these permanent supportive units will be in our community for 20 plus years. And so while we're putting in 128 units today with these dollars, we're helping so many more than 128 unsheltered people in Fort Worth. It will be here for decades to make sure that we're lifting up the people that come behind them and the folks that come behind them so that we can effectively end chronic homelessness in Fort Worth.
I've got a motion and a second. We'll keep going with speakers. Thank you, Elizabeth. Councilmember Blaylock, followed by Councilmember Flores.
Learning technology still, as Councilwoman Beck noted. I am very new to this compared to everybody else. And this particular topic is certainly very new to me. I think the mission's laudable. I think this is an incredible thing to create this homeless, to create this permanent supportive housing to address the homelessness issue. In my particular district, we have some ancillary issues that we're working on addressing, and I thank Tara Perez for reaching out to the community and working to address those concerns. So, I'm going to be in favor of this activity tonight.
Thank you, Alan. Carlos?
Thank you, Mayor. I'll be brief. I just want to also give my support to this measure right here and my thanks to all of Fort Worth's partners, because solving the issue of chronic homelessness takes more than just city government. It takes these valued partnerships that we've used before. And I also want to say that the New Leaf project in my district on Quail Trail is changing the face of permanent supportive housing. That same model is going to be used in District 3, and it's going to go very far, and again, changing people's perceptions about what we all can do to improve the situation of those folks that are in dire need of having a home and having those supportive services near by and at home so that they can continue to thrive. So those are my comments, and fully support this measure.
Thank you, Carlos. Councilmember Williams?
Thank you, Mayor. I'll be brief as well. This is such a celebratory vote for me. I remember going years back, and Bruce is in the audience, attending my first Friday, and just being tied to the hip of DRC and that work, and specifically the work of New Leaf. There was a lot of conversations that we had, and that really inspired me to do more, and that's one of the reasons why I'm here. So I'm really excited about this council's commitment to ensuring that our neighbors who find themselves in between homes have a permanent home that's supportive. And so I'll also be supporting this, and I just want to commend all the folks who are here, who've been championing this work longer than I, and thank y'all for letting me come along the journey. So I'm proud to support this as well.
Thank you, Jared. Councilmember Firestone?
Thank you, Mayor. Just wanted to also add a couple quick comments and recognize, I think this is a great moment for this council, great moment for this city that we all collectively should be very proud of. We should be proud of the passion. We should be proud of the commitment that we have to all of our citizens. And, you know, I'm certainly proud to be sitting here with all of you. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Leonard. In closing, before we vote, a lot of you have taken a lot of time over this for years. You may or may not have had time if you've been busy following this issue, but today in the New York Times is a beautiful story about the city of Houston and what they've accomplished. And I think today's an example of several things. First of all, is you allow practitioners who know best to dictate the best policy, especially in areas like homelessness. And Housing First works. It's working for the 4th largest city in the country, in the city of Houston. It certainly is working in the city of Fort Worth. I do think we'll be the 1st large city to end chronic homelessness. But we are the ones that get to take a vote tonight, but it's really thanks to all of you who do the hard work across Tarrant County. And we've been really wise, not just myself, my predecessor as mayors, most notably Mayor Moncrief, who is willing to put a lot of force behind this as mayor and make it a tenet of his administration to bring awareness in a growing city in Fort Worth. We wouldn't be here without his leadership, I can assure you. But we're not done yet. So tonight's vote is just another opportunity for us to reflect the importance of homelessness policy in the city of Fort Worth. But we're still listening and learning along with you. I think special thanks needs to also be given to our philanthropic community. I know Rose Bradshaw is here. Thank you, Rose. I know the Morris Foundation has played a huge role in this space as well. To Randy and Tom, you guys really should be retired, but you keep showing up, right, and doing this amazing work. I mean that. It means the world. You don't have to be doing this. You have amazing reputations in this city for the work you've done in the private sector, and you decided you want to be a part of the solution here as well, and you keep going. And it's really remarkable, and we appreciate you very much. So with that, I think we can vote. Today is definitely a celebration for the right things in the city of Fort Worth, and I think all of us will know this work will matter into the future, and for importantly for the folks across the city that are more vulnerable than ourselves. Thank you.
Next item is going to be ZC-22-077. And Mayor, we have one speaker, Mr. Jerome Johnson. Did you still want to speak on this item?
Wasn't expecting that. Okay, good evening again, Mayor Parker and the council. I will be very brief on this one. I just want to thank Councilman Nettles for, and I can't leave out Sally. Where is Sally? And Beth Ellis for their working tirelessly with me to try to get this done. I'm really excited about this, and I hope you guys will vote unanimously to approve this. This would be a great start to revitalizing the Highland Hills community. As most communities that are older and lower income, we have some infrastructure issues, there's some blight, but a lot of that can be attributed to zoning. But this is a good move. This will help turn our community around. So I plead with you, I implore you to vote yes. See, that was quick, right? I'm usually not that fast, right?
Thank you, Jerome.
Thank you.
Councilmember Nettles.
Thank you, Jerome. That was awesome. I tell you that the road to this seat had to go through Highland Hills. And so we wanted to make sure that we do what we need to do to support Highland Hills. And one of the first things that we talked about was the zoning issue. Zoning in front of Highland Hills and zoning in the back of Highland Hills where a lot of industrial parks are being built. And so I do want to take the time out to also thank Sally because she worked so tirelessly with Jerome and Beth to make this all come to pass. And this zoning change today that I fully support is going to change the concept of Highland Hills. It's going to change the neighborhood there she is. She just come in. Jerome, she heard you calling her name. So it's going to change Highland Hills so much. So thank you, Jerome, for your leadership as a Highland Hills president. And to Highland Hills, thank you for all that you do. So today I want to move to approve this zoning change.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion? Yeah, Gina. Please vote. Motion carries.
Next item will be 22-2245. And Mayor, we have one speaker on it, Greg Hoyt.
Is Greg here? Hi, Greg, come on down.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Council. I will be quick. Totally change because my big thing is I'm against the change for the Perot Airport, and it changed even more so when I came back and saw all the great people through the history in Fort Worth that have given their blood, their sweat, and their lives to the city. Ross Perot basically did give money and help with the Alliance Airport, and he made billions of dollars. But I don't think that's the type of person that lives in the reputation for Fort Worth, because we've had so many different people that I've even heard tonight of what have done great things. And Ross Perot doesn't basically echo or reflect Fort Worth. He's a Dallas person, and he hasn't done anything to really go and help Fort Worth other than give money and get money back. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hoyt. That's the last of our speakers on this item. I think I'll first turn to Councilmember Firestone and recognize any remarks you'd want to make.
Thank you, Mayor. So, of course, I'm going to put this forward with, great enthusiasm to approve. But I do see a couple of people in the back there, Mike Berry, Roger Venables.
Tom, yeah.
Mike, would you like an opportunity to comment at all or say anything? So as Mike's walking down, Mike is CEO of Hillwood, which is the Perot's company that has largely built the Alliance area.
Thank you, Councilman Firestone. I hadn't planned to speak, but I thought I might have an opportunity, so thanks for calling on me. On behalf of all of us who've been associated with the development of the entire Alliance area, but particularly beginning with the airport, this is hugely exciting, and all of us and many, many others are very grateful that this city would consider memorializing the partnership that has existed with the Perot family, and particularly started by Mr. Perot Sr. over 34 years ago, and is stronger today than I think ever before. Many of you didn't know Ross Perot Sr. Most of you know Ross Perot Jr., and he's been the face. But I promise you, we would not be here, Alliance would not be here today were it not for Ross Perot Sr., and not just because of his capital, but because of his vision and creativity. He loved Fort Worth. He had roots here long before he even completed the growth of EDS. He came to the stock show every year. His sister Betty was a school teacher in the Fort Worth ISD, so he had a deep sort of root and love for the city anyway. But he looked at a map one day, and he saw how Dallas had grown to the north, and DFW was sitting right in the middle, and then he looked at the north part of Fort Worth, and it was wide open. And he believed in North Texas, he believed in the growth of this region, and from basically that day that he looked at the map, he went about acquiring several thousand acres that became the genesis and sort of the seed for Alliance. And I'll tell a funny story that many of you don't know, but when the FAA approached us and the idea to build an airport came about, Ross Jr. sat down with Ross Sr. and said, well, I think this is a real opportunity to build a unique airport that's never been built in this country before. And Mr. Perot looked at Ross Jr. and said, I don't know. He says, I don't think things like to be around airports. They make a lot of noise and they might scare away development. Well, 18 months later, at the groundbreaking ceremony for Alliance Airport, he stood in front of a crowd of several hundred people and said, great cities grew up around seaports. He said, this will be the seaport of the future, and great things will happen here. So he became a huge believer. The other thing I want you to know about him, having been associated with him for almost 34 years, and he passed away, by the way, July 9th, 2019, 31 years to the day from that day, that groundbreaking day where he stood and made those comments that so that's a who knows what that is. But he never would allow us to think small. And the thing he liked about the fact that we were all some 20-something guys running around trying to build an airport, we didn't really know what we didn't know. And he encouraged us to make mistakes, and he encouraged us to be creative. And that encouragement, kind of like Councilman Nettles talked about as football coach, I think about the things he said to us to encourage us to keep pushing. And every time we would get one thing done, he would look at us and he'd say, I can't wait to see what you do next. So he really, he's a special man. A lot of what's happened wouldn't be here without that vision and creativity, and we're grateful and appreciative that you would consider attaching his name to the airport. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Well said.
Thank you. It's probably long overdue to officially name the airport for him, but selfishly, it's a great honor that comes on my watch.
One thing I need to add, I tried to get him to come down with me, but he wouldn't. He made me be the spokesman. Tom Harris, who has been the president of Alliance Aviation Services and really has been the primary driver of the growth of the airport, is here with me.
Tom was next on the list. Tom, do you want to come down at all? You are. All right. Well, just one other thing to wrap up, and I know we'll have a moment to celebrate you all when I'm sure there'll be a new sign that we cut a ribbon to or something here in the future. But the great news, I think, for all of us, the city, and so many people that you all are impacting and Mr. Perot is impacted, continues through his son, Ross Jr., and now third generation with Hill Perot, who the mayor and I just had a great meeting with last week. That kind of large thinking, visionary thinking as great Americans, great Texans, people that are so proud to be from Fort Worth, from Dallas, see that bigger picture. We're just lucky to have a family like that in our area. So again, I'll just make a motion to approve this with great enthusiasm, and we'll look forward to seeing you all out there.
I second it with
I've got a second, and
remarks.
go ahead, Gina.
Mike, I don't know why you went up there. You may as well come back down here, because I'm going to put you on the spot with a question. I never thought I'd be in the position of speaking up for the name and impact of Ross Perot, but here I am. Do you remember where we first met? It was in a field. Let me tell you, we met when I was chairing the T-board in a building that was just a hulled-out shell at the time, It is now the Tarrant County College Opportunity Center.
Right.
We got that because of Ross Perot. And so later on, TCC purchased it, and they were able to do training of corporations and people, and it's a thriving facility right now. But more importantly, if Harriet was still here, I was so fascinated in the early 2000s because I saw this thriving residential community, and this had to have been about 2002, but I was just shocked because all the homes were wired for internet. It's beyond anything I could think of. It was Ross Perot.
It was, at the time, at least we said, it was the first fiber-to-home master plan community in Fort Worth for sure, and probably in the broader region.
Well, I just want average people to know that this man was no stranger. And I'll tell you this, we probably wouldn't have Buc-ee's if it wasn't for you guys up there. And
Unfortunately, we didn't own that site.
I know, but you were the draw, you were the magnet. And just the idea of the impact, I know Dallas has a museum, but we had what we have today because of him, and it's such a draw. Everyone wants to come to that airport. And of course, you may be out of land soon, but I just wanted you to know that I have always known the impact that he had on the Southeast Fort Worth community, and it was because of Perot that we got that structure. So that's why I'm so excited about providing the second to this motion.
Thank you, Gina. Appreciate that.
Thank you, Gina. Councilmember Flores?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I want to say this briefly as being an aviation professional. Aside from Ross Perot Jr.'s contributions as an American businessman and to the development of the Alliance Airport area, this attaching of the Perot name is very appropriate and long overdue. Just as an example, he's been the recipient of presidential awards. He's been recognized time and time again. And near and dear to my heart, again, in aviation, he also co-piloted the very first flight by helicopter around the globe. So I think these are more than noteworthy accomplishments and recognitions, and I fully support this measure.
Thank you, Carlos. Any other council members? Gentlemen, thank you very much for coming this evening. This is an easy vote for me as well. Mr. Perot is a true giant, not only in Texas and in Fort Worth and Dallas, but across the United States. So we appreciate you being here today and letting us recognize Perot Field, Fort Worth Alliance Airport. With that, we can vote, council. Motion carries.
Next item is 22-2246.
Thank you, council. This is an appointment of Steve Purvis. As a resident of the City of Fort Worth, he'll be a new board of trustee to the City of Fort Worth Employees Retirement Fund. We know how important it is to have excellent professionals, of which Steve is definitely one, spending over 30 years of his career in finance. And so he'll be joining the board once we vote this evening. I need a motion and a second. Thank you. Please vote.
Next item is MNC 22-0427.
Got one speaker. Just a second, I gotta find myself here. Thomas Torlin-Cossey. Real quickly, as Thomas is coming to the podium, did we do 22-0462?
That one item was
Withdrawn.
continued.
Got it. Hi, Thomas, go ahead. So sorry.
Madam Mayor,
are we suspending the open meeting laws and calling on people from the audience that have not signed up to speak on specific agenda items that are pre-posted?
No, everybody's signed up to speak. They're allowed to speak on those items on resolution.
The gentleman that just spoke were allowed unlimited time?
Go ahead and speak, Thomas.
All right.
Thank you.
Well, I signed up for the trustee appointment that you already voted on. So you're allowing people who didn't sign up to speak on agenda items, while the other speakers on the same agenda item are limited to 3 minutes. And then I did sign up for an agenda item, and I wasn't allowed to speak on it before you voted. I believe that that measure and the previous measure naming Ross Perot Field are not valid under Texas statute.
Do you want to say anything regarding this really important item related to Opal Lee?
I do.
Go ahead.
I made my point already on the other 2 violations of state law. Am I already at 2 minutes?
We are.
Okay. It was wonderful that we're finally using the new city hall for such a fantastic event. And for the public that hasn't had a chance to visit it, what is there, although I don't have my notes, I'll try to go by my recollection since we jump around on a 105 item agenda that could have been split and 50 items could have been covered next week. There is a daycare, there is a cafeteria, there is a workout room, there is amazing space in the new city hall. And I think that celebrating the Opal Lee and Juneteenth celebration should set a precedent that the city to begin to immediately start using the facility, especially the outside spaces, for as many positive events as possible. Separately, it is my understanding, I hope that it's wrong, that the city intends to have that building be less accessible and more locked up and require that the public set appointments as much as possible and not be able to go into City Hall and say, visit the water department. And then it occurred to them that they need to get an application for their cousin, or maybe walk from there over to the code or permits and visit or interact with somebody there. It's an amazing building. It is our building. We paid for it, or we will be paying for it for a number of years. And it's just incredible that the space that the public will visit will actually be built outside of the building and be another multi-million-dollar outlay. Madam Mayor, it is genuinely outrageous that you can call people out of the audience and violate state law in this way. And it is absolutely certain, because I have the confirmation that I signed up for the measure about the trustee appointment. My question on the trustee appointment was, is this the same position that Carrie Moon had been previously nominated for and withdrawn?
No is the answer to that question.
All right, I appreciate you answering that question.
With that, council, it's the last of our speakers. Motion and a second. Please vote.
Next item is MNC 22-0438.
We have one speaker, Bob Willoughby. Is Bob here? I haven't seen him. He's not in overflow or anything, is he? He is? Okay. Overflow's closed? Well, he just went to try. You don't see him out in the hallway, do you? No? Oh, you can't? So goofy. Okay, I don't think Bob's here. That's the last of our speakers on this item, council. Motion and a second, please vote. Motion carries.
Next item is upcoming and recent events, recognition of citizens, and approval of ceremonial travel if needed by council.
Go ahead, Carlos.
Thank you, Mayor. get that presentation up, please? Okay. Just quickly go through this. On May 25th, I had the pleasure of addressing over 130 kids, grades 2 and 5 at Dolores Huerta Elementary School on Career Day. Very great questions, and Mayor, they certainly knew more than I assumed they would know about our municipal government. So kudos to their teachers for teaching them well. Next slide, please. All right, May 30th, 93rd annual celebration for Memorial Day service at Mount Olivet Cemetery. Madam Mayor, you gave remarks there. Former Councilmember Jungus Jordan was the MC. Glenn Whitley, our judge, Tarrant County judge, was there. And our keynote speaker, Captain Mark McLean, was also in attendance and gave remarks. And we had a great flyover by the 301st Fighter Wing of F-16s. So thank you to our fallen soldiers and fellow veterans. Next slide, please. All right, another celebration involving, our military. On May 30th at the Naval Air Station Joint Reserve Base, there was a ceremony held to commemorate the anniversary of the Battle of Midway, a pivotal battle that really changed the course of World War II. There was a veteran there, Bill McIntyre, who served in Midway, and he had some great stories to tell me. So thanks to Commanding Officer again, Mark McLean, for hosting that ceremony. Next slide, please. All right, we are nearing Juneteenth, and I want to announce that the Far Greater Northside Historical Neighborhood Association is having its 28th annual Juneteenth celebration. This is one of the longest running celebrations in the entire city. They have it at Lincoln Park on Saturday, June 18th from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. All are welcome. We're going to have a little speaker program, and more importantly, we're going to have some really great barbecue food and fellowship. There'll be plenty of children's activities, so invite everyone to come. Next slide, please. Marine Creek Ranch HOA is holding its annual fireworks show on June 25th from 6 to 10 a.m. 6 to 10 p.m. Can't see them in the daytime very well. And that's going to be at 5403 Paloma Blanca Drive in Fort Worth. And it's going to have a lot of participation there by our Fort Worth PD Mounted Patrol, SWAT, and others. And let me tell you, they have a very impressive show. Next slide, please. All right, the Hope Center for Autism is celebrating 15 years of serving our community. So please join us to celebrate Sunday, June 26th. It's a come and go type event from 2 to 6 at Chief Records at 140 East Exchange Avenue, Suite 8135. And that's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Carlos. Next is Alan.
So first slide. Oh, there we are. So as Elizabeth noted earlier, I'm very new to this activity, so I'm catching up on some old ground here. I was elected in on May 17th. On May 18th, I attended a ceremony out at Hillwood Airways, where Hillwood Airways, Brotherhood of the Fallen Fort Worth, the Fort Worth Police Department, and the Fort Worth Police Officers Association combined together to send the families and honor guards for 4 North Texas officers that had fallen in the line of duty to National Police Week. It was a privilege and an honor to be there. Next slide. So on May 19th, I was out at Linear Labs with Councilman Flores, where we toured their high-tech, the fantastic company. They make high-tech, high-torque, fully modular engines for use in all kinds of exciting things. And these are 2 off-road bikes that we got to ride. They were incredibly powerful. Next slide. So, was graciously invited by Mayor Pro Tem Bivens out to an event that she hosted on May 25th called Speed Dating with a Cop. It was really interesting and nice. Chief Noakes introduced Commander Monica Martin and NPOs to the neighborhood. Had a large attendance there. Thank you for extending that invitation. I appreciate it. Next slide. On May, next slide. It's the same thing. So on May 25th, I went to the mayor's celebration for workforce-ready graduates. And this was especially touching for me. The lady in the lower right corner is my niece, and it was exciting to have her there for this event. Next slide. Additional picture, my niece and the mayor and myself. Thank you for doing that event, by the way, Mayor. The fellow council members at the same place. And again, next slide. Okay, and lastly, I was not at this event, but I wanted to extend a heartfelt thank you to Chief Davis. He went to Summer Glen Library on June 1st and participated in a read-along and read Curious George and the Firefighters to a great group of kids and parents. When the story time was over, everyone got a chance to go outside and see Engine 31, which is there on the slide. Thank you. Next slide. Oh, that's one other picture from the Hillwood event. All right.
Thanks, Alan. Up to Gina.
Thank you. We had about 80 people show up at speed dating with a cop. And so we're going to do speed dating with your code compliance officer and hopefully get the same report, same turnout. Well, you know, I'm sure people will show up to talk to them and love on them. I had the pleasure of being invited to the First Missionary Baptist Church in Fort Worth. That's located in far southeast Fort Worth, close to Mansfield Highway. And the idea was to attend the 100th birthday celebration of Ms. Irma Lee Farmer. There may be another picture of her event, I'm not sure. But I want to say just a special thank you. Oh yeah, it was a big event. Pastor Patrick D. Moses is the pastor and wanted to make sure the church celebrated her. And I had a fan there who wanted to give me a kiss, and he did. Such a special event. And if I look like I'm wet, I was. That's when I had suffered car trouble after buying bad gas and y'all didn't know that? Oh yeah, $1,200 gas bill. And so I flew off in there like a mad woman, and I was so glad that I did. And they excused my appearance because that's what your hair looks like when it's wet, okay? Hadn't turned into an afro yet. Got a chance to get to another church, and this one, the pastor is a member of the staff. He's not here right now because his sister has been named Mayor Pro Tem for the city of Lubbock. But this was a focus on mental health. And Pastor T.J. Patterson with the Elm Grove Missionary Baptist Church has been touched to talk about youth suicide. And it just so happens that the man in the top left-hand corner had just learned the night before that his nephew had been murdered. And Chris, I think that's a relative of yours. And so he challenged the audience not just to focus on the youth, but how do we all deal with trauma? And so the outstanding presenter is in the center there. She is a trauma specialist at JPS and led the audience through some very interesting dialogue. Next slide, please. Another focus on the youth. I didn't want to show the youth faces for obvious reasons, but they were able to participate in exercises just to talk through how they deal with turmoil. And of course, the backdrop for this was, of course, the shooting in Uvalde. And the last slide you see there is Pastor Rodney McIntosh, who runs the Violence Intervention Program. Pastor Patterson is going to have another event in the next quarter, and it's his desire that clergy all across the city try to focus on youth, trauma, mental health, because we're in a pretty challenging times right now as people are dealing with issues of the day. So I was glad to be a part of those events and looking forward to many more to come. And that's my to-do.
Leonard?
I haven't seen this, I'm not sure. Oh yeah, this is good. So this, just a little context, I'll give a voiceover here. This was this past Friday at the Mayor's Summer Reading Program out at the Golden Triangle Library, where we just had a great time. And I want to thank Manya Shore and Michelle Gorman for hosting me out there. The kids were amazing. The parents were amazing. We had so much fun reading together. And it was just a great example, I think, of the staff and their commitment to the kids and families at our libraries that is really remarkable. So I want to, again, thank them for that opportunity. The other thing, very quickly, I wanted to note was I had a chance to be with the Crestwood Neighborhood Association last week. Really good, constructive meeting. Folks really did want to talk mostly about property taxes and short-term rentals. Certainly the increase in traffic that is beginning to appear on White Settlement. But we had a really good discussion on all those topics. From our water department, there's going to be a significant construction, or there will be significant construction going on at Crestwood very soon. And they're going to replace some very old iron pipes that are in the ground, the old cast iron pipes with some new infrastructure. So to help me explain that process and the timing, I want to thank Tony Shalola, Mary Gugliuzza, and Brenda Arapazo from the Water Department. Sorry if I didn't do a great job on those names. But it was very productive and good changes coming in Crestwood. So thanks very much.
Thanks, Leonard. Our next is Chris.
I actually forgot about these. But the first slide is Morrison Cool's expansion groundbreaking. It's an expansion coming to Southeast Fort Worth by Highland Hills. And so Councilwoman Beck, State Representative Nicole Collier, Councilman Williams, and Councilman Blaylock, and City Manager was there to support. So we thank that, grateful for that. The next slide, please. The Transforming 1012 North Main Street, check dedication, Congressman Mark Vesey, myself, Councilwoman Mark Vesey was able to get money sent to transform that center. Those that don't know about it, it's good to read about it. It's on Facebook as well as website. Next slide, please. I had the opportunity to participate in Uplift Mighty graduation. I think a lot of our council is really trying to do our best to bridge the gap with the schools and the city. The next slide. Had opportunity to participate in ODY's graduation, shake the hands of young people who had opportunity to walk across the stage, and with violence being at its high, everybody has not been given that opportunity. So to shake their hands and tell them congratulations was awesome. The next slide, please. Crowley ISD Safe Summer Summit. Had opportunity to be there. That Parja is in District 8. Councilman Williams was also there as well, because we share that corridor together. And just talking about how the city of Fort Worth is trying to make sure our young people are safe, doing the best that we can. We don't know it all, but we need help. And we really want our citizens to help us figure out a plan forward. Next slide, please. Again, talking about gun violence, journey forward, gun violence. Nicole Collier was there, as well as Pastor Rodney McIntosh. We had a police officer there, and we had some people who talked about how they were affected. A mother talked about her daughter being killed by her fiance. A young man talked about his mom being killed. And so violence is really high, and we got to figure out how we work together. So it's great to be with those people today. Also, I see Toby Jackson was there as well. Next slide. The next level Cosmo Camp that I have been talking about, where we are investing into our young people, giving them something to do for the summer. We're teaching them fundamentals about how to do hair and become entrepreneurs and be business owners. They range ages from 8 years old to 18 years old. And so they're learning how to do the fundamentals of braiding hair. And so our office is working with CC the Great. Next slide. We still have opportunity for you to sign up any young people, so contact our office if you would like to get your young people signed up. We have sponsors like Jenny and others who are participating in this fashion. Next slide. Volunteers needed for the Southside Community Garden Build, and so we know that the 76104 is the lowest life expectancy, and so we have a group that's going into different yards and building gardens in their backyards where they can grow fresh produce. So if you would like to volunteer, please look at that, be a part, go up and sign up. They need volunteers, every single build. Next slide. Openly Walk for Freedom is going to be June 18th at 10 a.m., 1050 Evans Avenue. We hope to see all of you there. Get there early. The parking is going to be crazy. So come and be a part of Juneteenth at 10 a.m. Next. I Am Juneteenth Festival is back June 18th. That's going to happen at Panther Island. I think that's at 4 p.m. if I'm not correct. Next slide, please. Soul of Sycamore, Juneteenth Arts in the Park. Vendors is going to happen on Sunday on Father's Day. So there'll be food vendors. Stop by. It's going to be at the Sycamore Park. Next slide. No, I'm done. Thank you.
Just a Memorial Day recap. Carry the Load was a great event. I look forward to chairing it next year, and I also look forward to volunteering my colleagues to come walk with me. So lace up. Next slide. And we also had a Memorial Day celebration or ceremony at La Grande Plaza with our American Legion post, who you saw here earlier tonight for the ball field renaming. It was a really great event. It was bilingual. And it ended with some dove releases. So that was a first for me. Next slide. For those of y'all that don't know, the City of Fort Worth has a series, Movies That Matter. I would encourage you all to check them out and register and go see them at the Modern. They're really great and thought-provoking. This particular movie, Woman on Fire, was about the first transgender woman in the New York Fire Department, and we were really fortunate to be joined by our fire chief, who shared some of his experiences at his at Columbus before he came to Fort Worth. This was a really great event. Next slide. We also had the dedication of our Drift Bridge. You can see my pup joined me for his first council visit engagement. He was not well behaved, so he won't be back. Next slide. We had this past weekend a March for Our Lives rally. It was a group of Fort Worth ISD students that came together and hosted a rally of over 1,000 people to call for sensible gun legislation reform. And it was really powerful to see so many youth out there leading us in the city. So next slide. All right, so we have the grand reopening of Worth Hills Park, and I cannot stand up here or sit up here without thanking my colleague, Michael Crane, who was really instrumental in helping the neighborhood get what they want. And so it's a really great example of what we do when we've got issues on our borders of our council districts and how we work really well together. So thank you, Michael, for that. And I look forward to cutting that ribbon and the orange juice with Mr. Zavala that he's promised us. I won't tell you what Michael said he'd bring. Next slide. Okay, we do have, I don't know if any of y'all know, but we've got a pool, Forest Park Pool in the city, and if you're interested to know what we're going to do with that, we do have another public meeting coming up. We had one previously, and we got a lot of feedback on what you wanted to see, and so our consultant team has been hard at work putting those ideas to paper, and so I hope you'll join me this Wednesday at 6:30 at the Botanic Gardens. Next slide. Also, this Saturday, the Fort Worth Vaqueros will be near Southside, will be their sponsor. If you are interested in attending, they have a really great promotion where they're offering 10 tickets to anybody that's willing to promote them on social media. And so I would highly encourage you to take advantage of that particular event. Next slide. Trinity Pride Fest will be June 25th at Magnolia on the Green. I encourage you all to come out and be supportive. I think that's it. Yep.
Next item is CP-322. And Mayor, we have one speaker.
Speaker? Thomas, come on down.
Madam Mayor, I want to point out there are 60 folks sitting in the audience. We're nearly 3 hours into this meeting. There are other folks in the overflow room and people who have left. I'm sure that most of the people that are here for issues or agenda items that are important to them. So I want to thank you for finally following in order on the printed agenda and going to the very next item. But this is untenable, the way you've organized and hopped around and negated reading the agenda items, especially on the items where the public has signed up to speak. It's a pretty delicate subject to talk about, especially for a man. So for a moment, I want to address the guys first. I know my representative, who seldom shows respect to her own constituents, is confused over why I'm up here. So I'm going to talk to the men first. I was a teacher in 1992. I taught at a program called New Lives. I was the only male in the building. There were about 300 to 400 young women. The entire staff, including the custodians, were female. I learned about this issue and why it's important and why health and hygiene and access to this simple thing is critical to not only the health, but the actual survival of young women who just had a baby. I'm especially sensitive to this because one of my students died from a thing called toxic shock syndrome. But I want to now share an idea that I shared once before with the council. It's not my idea. None of you are looking at me. I appreciate that. A woman named Mary Louise Nicholson, the county clerk, won a national award for this idea. Again, it is not my idea. It is a woman's idea. The idea is as simple as it can get, and it's user-friendly and discreet. This gadget right here can revolutionize the concept that you're about to vote on. Because this is a difficult and a discreet subject, it's real easy to put one of these on the door jamb or next to the mirror in the ladies' room, as well in the men's room, to alert somebody appropriately that important materials like these are out of stock. In fact, kind of like in the commercial world, you might call this point of purchase. The point being is that if you're really going to be an open and user-friendly and sensitive and an accommodating city, these things, point-specific, should be distributed throughout the new City Hall building so that people can give feedback on staff and all sorts of things, including this very important agenda item.
Thank you, Thomas. I'll turn to Councilmember Beck first.
I'd just like to take a moment to recognize the irony of being mansplained on this particular item. So for all the women in the room, I'm sure you know exactly what I'm talking about. So with that, I would like to make a motion to suspend council rule of procedure 5.2.1 to allow for a vote on this council proposal at this council meeting.
I second my sister's motion.
Thank you.
This is a sisterly deal.
Yeah. I believe that we have a few guests. Are Maya Perez and Olivia Castillo here? Hi, girls. So you were appropriately recognized by the Star Telegram, not once, but twice, in today's story as well, for putting this issue forward at Fort Worth ISD, even a bigger scale. You should definitely be recognized. Each of you are in high school and doing big things, and I got to talk to you both on the phone, so it's nice to meet you in person. Sorry it's behind this silly microphone and dais. And I also want to thank my colleague, Councilmember Beck, for bringing this forward. For all the guys in the audience, it's really just this simple. Menstrual products are like toilet paper. It is no different. And we need for young women to feel really welcome in our facilities. And so I just picture the young teenage girl. It's an awkward moment in one of our facilities, and we're going to make that a little bit easier. There's a lot more to be done. These products are not accessible with government benefits such as SNAP. They're also subject to sales tax, and they're very expensive. And so thank you, Elizabeth, for bringing this to attention and pushing it forward so quickly. Thanks for city staff for being willing to pilot this project, and we'll have better line items in our budget in the years forward. It's just simply the right thing to do. And thanks, Thomas, for bringing us an idea tonight, whether it's a QR code or something like that, whatever it takes to give a little bit, make this a little bit more discreet and easier access for young people, especially young women in our community centers and our libraries. I'm all about it. With that, go ahead.
Mayor, I just want to see one man smile and give us a thumbs up. All the men look so tense. Thank you.
Harrison, double thumbs up. Are you going to tweet about your thumbs up? No?
I will.
You're live tweeting, Harrison. Oh, now he's embarrassed.
Hit his face. I'll be darned. That's good enough.
I agree. As a father of 3 daughters, I'm glad this is brought up too. Thank y'all. Thank you. Yes.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
And thank you. Let's vote, council.
And then we have one
I'm
more.
a yes, Melissa.
We have one more vote, right? Yep. Okay.
Thank you. Our motion to suspend the rules passes. Now we're going to vote on the actual proposition. Go ahead, Elizabeth.
So tonight's council proposal is about equity, it's about dignity, and it's about basic human hygiene. On average, a menstruating person will have their period for about 2,500 days over the course of their lifetime. No person should be denied access to our city government or facilities because they don't feel comfortable because of access to period products. Whether it be you can't afford them or you were just caught by surprise, you would be hard-pressed to find a woman that hasn't found themselves in an unlucky situation of being in a restroom wondering where they would source a tampon or a pad. We don't ask residents to source their own toilet paper or their own soap. And feminine products are the same, basic hygiene necessities, which is why it makes sense that they would be provided in city facilities. As I began the work of proposing this CP, I realized how little appreciation for what lack of access to these products can cause by many of my male counterparts, and I don't necessarily mean colleagues here, but in general. However, when I had discussions with women, the excitement was palpable, which goes to show you what an impact it is on our daily lives, which is why the city of Fort Worth taking this important step forward is not just an important policy perspective, but it engages our community at large in the conversation on period equity. Someone said today, I don't know if I've ever heard people talking about periods at City Hall, and they probably haven't, but they are now, and that's important. It's important because it's part of nature. We're all here because of it, and we should accept that, and we should provide services for women and those men that menstruate as well. So I want to recognize Maya and Olivia, 2 Paschal High School students, also District 9 residents, for the inspiration for the CP. It was their work to provide period products at Paschal High School that not only made their school better, but it pushed Fort Worth ISD to do it in all of their facilities as well. And so it is young women like you who are our future. So thank you. Yeah. Thank you for pushing us to do better. Thank you for pushing us to be more. And thank you for making us have this conversation tonight at City Council. And with that, I move to approve.
Motion and a second, council. Please vote. Thank you. Motion passes.
Next item is 22-2249, District 6 Board Appointment. Now we'll do 22-2249, District 6 board appointment.
Councilmember Williams?
I'd like to request the council's consideration to appoint the following individuals to the respective boards effective June 14, 2022, and with the term expiring on October 1st, 2022. Kiev Tatum to place 6 of the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board, and Sandy Martinez Russell to place 6 of the Library Advisory Board. The respective applications are attached, and resumes are provided. The original copies will be maintained in the city secretary's office. Thank you for your consideration.
Oh, Carlos, are you good? Thank you. Motion carries.
Next item is 22-2247, a public hearing, report by City Staff Joel McEnany.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council. I'm Joel McElhaney, Assistant Director with the Park and Recreation Department. The purpose of this public hearing is to hear public comment on the application for a Texas Parks and Wildlife Urban Outdoor Recreation Grant in the amount of $1,500,000, which will be applied toward the park development at Sycamore Park. This park is located in Council District 8. The Texas Parks and Wildlife Department administers a local park grant program, which includes the Urban Outdoor Recreation Grant. This grant provides matching funds to cities and counties with a population over 500,000, or rather 16 Texas cities and counties can apply for this grant. Grants are awarded by the Texas Parks and Wildlife Commission once a year as funding allows. The deadline for this application is August 1 of this year, and grants are anticipated to be awarded in March of 2023. Staff recommends hearing public comment about this grant application. Upon completion of the public comment, staff recommends that the City Council close the public hearing and adopt a resolution to apply for the grant, designate a city representative to act on behalf of the City of Fort Worth, and, if awarded, accept the Texas Parks and Wildlife Department Urban Outdoor Recreation Grant in the amount of $1,500,000.
Thank you, Joel. Council, we can have a motion.
Motion to close the public hearing and approve.
Motion and a second. Please vote. Motion carries.
Next item is MNC 22-0337. Public hearing with report by Stuart Campbell.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. My name is Stuart Campbell with Development Services Planning and Annexation. Just a reminder, this is a public hearing for annexation AX 21018. This item came before you on May 10th. We opened the public hearing that day, went through a brief discussion. I'll go over the generalizations of the item being requested tonight, but this is a continuation of a public hearing. This is to consider, like I said, a public hearing. It's also going to ask you to authorize and execute a municipal service agreement and consider the adoption of an ordinance for the proposed owner-initiated annexation of approximately 421.133 acres of land in Tarrant County, known as Rio Claro. This is located generally south of Bonds Ranch Road and east of Morris Ditto Newark Road. It's in the far northwest planning sector. It'll be future council District 7. This is currently agriculture and vacant land proposed for commercial and residential development. State law requires that we conduct this public hearing. The notice of public hearing was published in the Star Telegram on April 29th, posted to the city website on April 28th. As a reminder, there's a companion zoning case that you'll be hearing tonight that goes along with this, that's also on your agenda. So after the conducting of the public hearing, the requested action of council would be execution of the municipal service agreement and adoption of the ordinance annexing AX 21018 for full purpose annexation. Those are my comments. I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Thank you, Stuart. Appreciate it. That's the last of our report to staff. Council, we have 2 speakers. Our first is Thomas Trolankasi, followed by Daniel Queen.
Mayor Parker and council members, I hope that I'm afforded the same dignity and equity that was mentioned just a moment ago. I want to remind the council that when people come here to speak, they come here to either to offer help or ask for help, specifically. And that we are David and the 9 of you are Goliath. Hope you keep that straight. I wanted to talk on this specific item because a lot of people in this room probably care about it more than the council realizes. This measures to annex another nearly 457 acres to the city of Fort Worth. On the front page of the newspaper, 2,000 acres in annexation was announced, but I guess it's not on the agenda, or I don't find it on the agenda as I hop around so much. We have a crisis both in the bond debt we're building, the bond debt, and the amount of future debt that we're building for our children in our city. In essence, people like me who live in a 100-year-old house this year are expected to continue to finance the dreams of developers and land speculators, and we haven't caught up with all those developments north of 820 and outside of the loop that the original traditional neighborhoods are continuing to have to finance because of bad fiscal management or bad stewardship from previous city councils. Our city is physically gigantic, and it is one of the fastest growing cities in the country. Now, they're not going to vote for it, but I'm strongly suggesting that whether it's this 450 acres plus or 2,000 acres, we have to slow this down. We haven't fixed the roads in the spaces north of 820 yet. Some of that money has been in the bank for years. Now, that might be underway, but the reality is that the shift of the burden in the households that have owned homes for 3 or 4 generations in a way to the developers has got to start now. And if you don't think this is a problem, you saw it just a few minutes ago. When people that signed up to speak were afforded exactly 3 minutes or less, and developers and rich people got to come up here and speak to get more land, more development, more growth, more traffic, more overcrowding, without a cohesive plan on how to catch up. The debt and the tax burden in Tarrant County and in Fort Worth has shifted away from the business community and towards homeowners, towards residential communities. I think the shift was 60-40, 20-something years ago, and now nearly 80-something% of the property tax burden is paid by you and I in our homes, or if you're a renter, you pay it to your landlord who turns around and has to pay higher and higher property taxes.
Daniel Queen.
Good evening. My name is Daniel Queen, Fort Worth, District 7. I live in the community directly adjacent to this proposed annexation, and I speak in opposition now rather than the zoning case later on. I have here the meeting minutes of a town hall hosted by the Northwest Alliance on November 17th, 2021 at Boswell High School. At that town hall, Councilman Firestone, when asked about the new Rio Claro development, expressed his own concerns with the current state of the region and its infrastructure. He stated that the city would push the pause button on annexation until a study could be done satisfying 2 things. First, are the arterial roads satisfactory to support what exists and what the developer is contemplating? Second, can emergency services with existing fire stations respond in appropriate times with predicted traffic patterns? Also, to investigate water delivery concerns. I'm unaware if any such study was done or what the results were, but I do have the staff report that was attached to this case. The report concludes that with the new development, fire services would not be able to meet their response time goals to the area without an additional fire station built. Would this be done before it's too late? The report notes that the existing NS 3 and 4 water lines are not sufficient to supply water for this development and extensions would need to be done. Would this be done before it's too late? Finally, and most concerning, the report notes that the existing Bonds Ranch Road that my neighborhood entirely depends upon is not sufficient to serve this new development without widening of the Bonds Ranch Road to the west. The developer stated that they have no intention of doing so and leave it to the city. Is the city already planning to take this on before it's a problem and not in a future bond election? For those who don't know, Bonds Ranch is a one-lane, each-way, dark country road. No dividers, no lights, no shoulders, lots of blind hills, not to mention a brand-new Eagle Mountain High School serving thousands of students is already under construction. That will empty out onto Bonds Ranch. The new Eagle Mountain Parkway arterial is not yet underway and no timeline of when it will be built or connect to the east. The Zoning Commission even recommended a denial without prejudice because they saw that the proposal had issues and wasn't ready. I don't know about y'all, but I don't want Bonds Ranch to be the next Bailey Boswell. I don't want to get injured or worse taking my young children to elementary school in the morning. We all know that development's coming to the area, but this growth before infrastructure thing has gotten out of hand. It's turned into a bad joke. This region needs resources before rooftops. We need priority for the safety and well-being of its residents. I urge you, I implore you, heck, I beg you, please do not approve this case. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Daniel. Councilmember Firestone, that's the last of our speakers.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Just want to make a couple points. Thank you both for coming to share your opinions this evening and observations. Did just want to make a couple notes that this project is an owner-initiated annexation, which I think is important to understand and appreciate. And also the developer has agreed to improve portions of Bonds Ranch Road and Wagley Robertson to the south as well. So with those comments made, I'd like to move to close the public hearing and move to approve.
Got a motion, got a second, council? Thank you. Any other discussion? Before we vote, I'll just say to Daniel, thank you very much for coming. I really do appreciate it. Your sentiments that we've heard numerous times over, and I think you're in really great hands with Leonard. He's taking this incredibly seriously, not just in this section of his district, but across District 7 with the growth. And so we're trusting his judgment here because he's doing the right thing and listening to constituents. I appreciate how hard you've worked on this case, Leonard. I know many more to come, but the city's listening. I know city staff has taken it as a priority to make sure infrastructure does come first before some of the growth because of what we've seen in North Fort Worth. So thank you for coming. With that, we can vote. Motion passes.
Next item is MNC 22-0427, public hearing, report by city staff Haley Mann.
Is it 0420, correct?
Yes. Yes,
Okay, thank you.
4020, sorry.
Hi, Haley, go ahead.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Haley Mann, I'm the Brownfields Coordinator for Code Compliance. The purpose of today's public hearing is to receive public comment regarding MNC 22-0420 relating to the establishment of a municipal setting designation for 3201 North Slovenia Avenue to be referred to as CFW MSD 0030. Following any public comments, staff recommends closing the public hearing and adopting MNC 22-0402 and the attached resolution ordinance, thereby establishing CFW MSD 0030. The proposed municipal setting designation, or MSD, consists of approximately 70.7 acres located in Council District 2. However, it is adjacent to this Council District 4 boundary. The site has a history of industrial operations since the 1890s and has operated above-ground storage tanks since the 1940s, which are believed to have contributed to the chlorinated solvent, benzene, and petroleum hydrocarbon contamination in the groundwater. The exact meets and bounds description is provided in the ordinance that would prohibit the use of the designated shallow groundwater under the site for potable and irrigation purposes. The site is currently zoned K, heavy industrial. The chemicals of concern identified in groundwater beneath the site exceeding the applicable Texas Commission of Environmental Quality Tier 1 Texas Risk Reduction Program residential protective concentration levels are chlorinated solvents, benzene, and petroleum hydrocarbons. The designated groundwater is discontinuous, shallow perched groundwater that occurs at depths of approximately 5 to 20 feet below the ground surface. The affected shallow groundwater is underlain by 3 different confining layers: the Paw Paw Formation, the Fort Worth Limestone Formation, and the Duck Creek Formation, which range from approximately 25 to 100 feet in thickness. That serves as a regional aquitard, preventing the vertical migrations of the chemical of concern to the underlying potable aquifer, the Trinity Group, which is composed of the Paluxy, Twin Mountains, Travis Peak, and Glen Rose formations. As part of the application process, staff from Code Compliance, Planning and Development, Transportation and Public Works, and the Water Department reviewed the application. No comments of concern were made. The Code Compliance Department is satisfied that this municipal setting designation will be protective of human health and the environment. A public meeting was held on May 26, 2022. 3 representatives of the applicant, 2 city staff, and 3 residents were present. Comments made at the meeting do not adversely impact staff's recommendation to approve this MSD. In advance of that meeting and today's hearing, written notice was sent to property owners within a half mile of the MSD boundary, other municipalities within 1/2 mile of the MSD boundaries, owners of registered water wells within 5 miles of the proposed MSD boundary, and retail public utilities and municipalities with groundwater supply wells within 5 miles of the MSD boundary. Again, following any public comments, staff recommends closing the public hearing and adopting MNC 22-0420 and the attached resolution and ordinance, thereby establishing CFW MSD 0030.
Sorry, I lost my screen there for a second. I think I'm back on track. Carlos, did you have something to say? Go ahead.
Yes, Madam Mayor, do we have any speakers on this?
No, we do not.
Okay. All right, then in that case, I move to close the public hearing on MNC 22-0420 and move to adopt this resolution. And thanks to TCEQ and staff.
Thank you, Carlos. We've got a motion and a second, council. Thank you, Alan. Any other discussion? Please vote. Motion carries.
Next item is MNC 22-0404.
We do have a speaker, Dan Hayes.
Mayor, that is a public hearing, sorry, with
sorry.
a
Go ahead.
report from
Richard.
Richard Zavallia.
Can't miss Richard.
Yes, Mayor, members of the council, I'm Richard Zavala with the Park and Recreation Department. The purpose of this public hearing is to receive public comment on the proposed use of parkland at Gateway Park for installation of a parallel sanitary sewer relief main and associated maintenance area. This public hearing is required in accordance with Chapter 26 of the Texas Parks and Wildlife Department Code. The City of Fort Worth wastewater master plan identified the need for a parallel sanitary sewer relief main
124, Fort Worth, 6/14 to 6 p.m. Central Time as a speaker.
Am I in trouble?
Yes, always.
Always.
Your time has expired.
You're in trouble. All right. The water master plan identified the need for a parallel sanitary sewer relief main to an existing 72-inch line in Gateway Park to help address system capacity issues in the West Fork Basin. To meet this need, the Water Department is requesting the conversion of approximately 2.93 acres of parkland within Gateway Park. This item was presented to the Park Board at their May 25th meeting. of this year, and they voted in the affirmative to endorse the recommendation to authorize the use of a Gateway Park. It was also publicized in the Fort Worth Star-Telegram on 3 dates in May and June in accordance with the state law. And we also provided signage at the site and notified the area neighborhood associations. We have received 4 public inquiries. We've been in discussion today with the speaker that you'll hear tonight, and we'll continue to work with the water department as well as our city forester and the consultant and ultimately the contractor that will do the work as this project progresses. It's my understanding that Mr. Blaylock may make a move to continue the public hearing to the 28th meeting, so I'll just yield the podium at this point and let the council take whatever action they would.
Thank you, Richard. Any questions for Mr. Zavala, council? If not, I'll go to our next speaker, Dan Hayes.
And Mayor Parker, I owe you an apology. I did sign up on that earlier item, but only just to make a comment, not to speak, and it was so weirdly titled, I didn't recognize it.
No worries at all.
My name is Dan Hayes, and I live in Central Meadowbrook, and I wanted to address the impact this sewer line project will have on the main entrance to Gateway Park. I've worked for 25 years in the world of campus facilities maintenance and have stared into many a ditch where a sewer line or water line was being replaced, so I understand the challenges of minimizing the surface damage while still accomplishing the work, especially for a line this large. In communicating with David Jodre with the Parks and Recreation staff, I was told they are trying to minimize the tree removal as part of this project, but currently 55 trees 6 inches or larger in diameter are scheduled to be removed near the main entrance to the park. That includes 24 that are at least a foot in diameter at chest height and 3 that are at least 2 feet in diameter. 55 trees lost along the park's main entrance is going to be a big loss to the park. Although the contractor has to pay a $133,000 tree mitigation fee, initially none of that money was to fund replacement trees. There were no plans to plant any replacement trees, which I found to be very disappointing. And I wrote to several of you, and then earlier today I had a conversation with Assistant Director Joel McElhaney, in which he told me that those involved have agreed in principle to use some of the tree mitigation money for tree planting. However, the number of trees to be planted and the configuration and cost haven't been determined. I've been told it's about 15 or so trees. So while I'm pleased that some replacement trees are now planned, the scope of the work you are being asked to approve still doesn't provide any details on this point. 15 trees to replace 55 trees doesn't seem adequate to me, but I want to stop short of asking you to delay your vote on what is undoubtedly an important project. However, I would ask that you require a briefing on the plan once it is determined. This park is too important, and the location of this work in the park is too critical to leave this to chance. The entrance needs to be sufficiently replanted to ensure a shady entrance into this great park within a few years. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Council, that's the last of our speakers. I'll turn to Mr. Blaylock.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Richard. So, we are a little bit concerned about the loss of the trees, the 55 trees at 64 caliper inches. We're going to ask to continue this to June 28th to provide some opportunity to outreach and coordinate with community to better address this concern.
Got a motion and a second, council. Any other discussion? Please vote. Carlos, I think they were waiting on you. Sorry.
I can't get it.
It's okay. Are you yes or no?
Yeah.
Okay.
I can't make it work, Mayor, but I'm a yes.
Okay, thank you, Carlos. Motion carries.
Next item is ZC-21-208.
Okay. We have several speakers on this item. I'm going to turn to Mr. Blaylock before we get started with speakers, if that's okay.
Sure. So after listening to, recommendations from neighborhood and staff, we've had some discussions with the developer, and at this time, they're going to withdraw this application, and they're going to come forward with a plan that's better suited towards the community, and we look forward to seeing that. So at this point, I make a motion to accept the withdrawal.
Okay. Thank you very much. Making sure all of our speakers know that what's happening here, withdrawing the case, there's no vote happening tonight, so the applicant will have to come back again to zoning. We've got a motion and a second on the floor? Yes. Any other discussion? Council, please vote. Motion carries.
Next item is ZC-21-236.
We have a few speakers on this one, Leonard. The first is Kevin Engel, followed by Travis Clegg. I see Travis. Is Kevin here?
Madam Mayor, could I ask that the developer speak first, and then I would call? Would that be acceptable?
Do you want Travis to speak first? Is that oh, yeah, that's fine. And you're Kevin? Yes. Hi, Kevin. Come on down, Travis. Sure, Matt's going to speak. Yeah.
Good evening, council members and mayor. Matt Mildren with PNB Capital. Thank you for having us here tonight. We're here tonight for the presentation of our zoning case for our Bonds Ranch project. As you guys are aware, the city of Fort Worth and Rio Claro, our partner on this project, entered into a development agreement in 2008 regarding how this property would be developed, annexed, and zoned. We began making submittals to the city of Fort Worth just over a year ago and working with city staff. We also began dialogue with the two neighboring HOAs last October about our plans for the project. We've had multiple meetings with the neighboring HOAs, city staff, Councilman Firestone's office, Ryan Smith with the Northwest Fort Worth Alliance, and our zoning request tonight addresses the feedback that we've received from all of those people and the changes that we made to the preliminary plat and concept plans that were approved late last year. As I mentioned, we've worked closely with the neighboring HOAs to develop a plan that we believe we can all stand behind and be proud of. We recently executed a memorandum of understanding with both neighboring HOAs to facilitate the development of this project. Some of the highlights of that MOU are reducing the overall density by 157 lots from 2,071 lots to 1,914 lots, or roughly 2.7 units per acre, which is below the 3.0 units per acre allowed within the development agreement. We also agreed to change all of the lots that are adjacent to the existing Crestview and Lago Vista neighborhoods to be all A10. And then all of the lots that are across the street from those A10 lots will all be A75. The lots within the inside of the project will be A5. We've changed the zoning for the commercial property from general commercial to a more restrictive neighborhood commercial. We've also agreed to provide pedestrian access gates to the trails and existing ponds within the property and future ponds within the property so that the residents of Lago Vista and Crestview can have access to our walking trails and ponds. As part of the subdivision ordinance, we're required to make the connections. There are two existing connections to the Lago Vista neighborhood. And as part of our agreement with the neighbors, we will build vehicular access gates that will restrict access except for emergency services only. Those gates will be similar in structure and design to the existing gates that are out there. We also agreed to maintain the existing common areas that abut between our property and the Lago Vista and Crestview neighborhoods. Our HOA will maintain those, so it'll all be maintained on a pretty regular schedule. We're also going to allow the residents of Crestview and Lago Vista access to the amenity centers that we plan to construct as part of this development. I'm happy to answer any questions if you guys have any.
Thank you, Matt. Councilmember Firestone, any questions right now? No, okay. Next to Kevin Engel.
Good evening, council. We're way past my bedtime. Thank you for this opportunity to speak to you. My name is Kevin Engel. I am president of the Bonds Ranch Homeowners Association, and as such, am speaking in favor of this particular plan. We signed the memorandum of agreement or memorandum of understanding yesterday morning. But I do want council to know that we feel like we signed this memorandum of understanding under duress. And I say that because we were told this was the best deal we could get. And we were told that despite the fact that we had a great hearing with the zoning commission. And as you can tell by the statement, zoning commission actually recommended denial of this. We were also told, again, as Mr. Queen brought up, that Mr. Firestone had told us that we were going to try and slow down development in our part of the city because of concerns about infrastructure, traffic, water, fire, all of the above. So I'm here tonight to tell you that, yeah, we did sign the memorandum of understanding, but we did so unwillingly. All of my neighbors do not want this to happen. My neighbors have all told me that they did not want me to sign that piece of paper, but I was told by city staff, by the city attorney, by my representative, that we didn't have a choice. It was either sign the memorandum or get nothing. So we signed, and I want council to know that I am greatly, greatly disappointed in the city for putting us in this position because the development does not match the city's master development plan. This development matches a contract that was signed 15 years ago and does not match the master plan of having buffer zones from A10 to A75 and then down to A5. My argument, by the way, I want everyone on this council to know, my argument, Matt, is not with you. You did what you're supposed to do. The developer did exactly what they're supposed to do. Make as profitable a development as they can make with the land they own. And I commend them for that. My disappointment is here, that you are not taking care of the people in your community that already live here, that have invested over $100 million of our own money in our properties that we own in Northwest Fort Worth. And you are not standing up for us. Thank you for your time.
Our next speaker is James Bendenharn. Is James here? Followed by Brady Rhodes. That's fine, thank you.
I don't know if you want one or one for each.
Yeah, one for each is easier. Thank you.
My name is James Biedenharn. I am in Mr. Firestone's area, and I'll try and get through as quick as I can here. I know you hear the traffic issues, and I wanted to bring that to the attention of the council. I did this previously on the Cibolo Hills and admonished that they should take into consideration. It was not, and we're already seeing the results of that. If you look at, is there any way to bring, or well, y'all are looking at it. If you look at that one with the arrows, everything to the right, east of 35, those red arrows represent east-west corridors uninterrupted to major northwest corridors, highways. The purple arrows represent northwest corridors. That is a responsible development plan with responsible access and growth in the area. If you look to the west of 35 and 287, you'll note that there are only 3 east-west, which are represented by the red, and 3 purple arrows representing north-south corridors. Of those east-west corridors, only 1 reaches a major highway, and that is Bonds Ranch Road. You hear the developers say that they're going to improve Bonds Ranch. They're referring to nothing to the west of Saginaw, Maine, 287. That area has residents who are stuck in their neighborhoods for up to 30 minutes trying to get out during rush hours because of the mess of traffic at 287. To qualify this, I am a Realtor. My wife and I have been a Realtor in this Northwest area for over 20 years, selling nearly 1,500 homes. We've seen the growth. We know the impacts of this. All of those red circles are railroad crossings, only one of which has an overpass. All of the purple circles are areas of dead ends where east, west, and north, south end in an intersection. Only one of those north-south actually reaches 820. The other two hit intersections. This makes traffic untenable in the area with the existing homes. There are over 8,000 approved homes in the area that have not been built, in addition to the 2 that they're asking for here. That, without the planned infrastructure growth, is untenable for this area. It will drive down the values and create rental, and that's the second handout that you have. Those are brand new homes that are being purchased by out-of-state investors and institutional investors that are being leased out instead of homeowners. Be happy to answer any questions on those handouts.
Thank you, James. Any questions for James right now, Leonard?
What's the source of information for the rentals? It's interesting.
The MLS.
MLS.
Those are all homes that were built in 2021 or newer that have already been purchased and leased out. And that's what's going on in Northwest as opposed to actual home ownership. You know, we're talking about home ownership and providing low-cost housing for people. You pay more in rent than you do in purchase. But because you cannot reach where you work, where you play, where you shop from these areas effectively, it makes the areas less desirable. So the homeowners that are looking to purchase, they're looking for areas that are closer to those areas. So what you end up with is values coming down because traffic gets worse. There's a reason that property values are more valuable near 35, near the airport, because there's access to those things. This Northwest area is rural. There's very little shopping. There's very little employment. Everybody leaves the area, and right now, it's already difficult to leave the area, and there's over 8,000 homes that are being planned to be added to the area, and the major infrastructure is 10 years or more out to get over these railroads. The traffic at 287 Highway in Bonds Ranch is actually backing up onto the highway because people coming home right now, they can't get back to their neighborhoods fast enough. A train comes across there and you've got a mile of backup at rush hour on 287, creating major safety hazards. And there's no overpass. There's only one lane roundabouts at that exit. I know they're working on that area, but there's no plan for overpass. There's just not the infrastructure there, because we're adding more than twice of what is there. Feeding that road is being asked to add it in there. You know, and I made this argument before the Cibolo Hills was approved, and since then I've got people calling me wanting to move out of the area because they can't get on 287. The traffic, they can't get out of their neighborhood. They're like, we can't stand it. But they've been priced out of moving elsewhere, so they're stuck in traffic that's just untenable.
Yep.
And there's no plan with the city, and I wanted the rest of the council members to see a graphic representation of why the traffic, it's not just Bonds Ranch where the development is, it's getting out of the area because everybody that lives there gets out to go shop, work, and play. There's nothing in that area. It's a rural area, and the development of infrastructure and employment is way behind what the housing that's going in there, and it's unique because of the lake, the lack of east-west access because of the railroads. One of the largest railway yards is to the north that those lines all feed into, and then there's another one to the south. You don't have that in other areas of the city, and it's not been taken into consideration with the growth that's being approved in that area. It's just making the traffic awful. So I urge you to take that in consideration, and that is why the commission recommended that this not be approved. And I'm not against the development of land. I think it needs to be done responsibly, and that's apparent here when you look at east versus west of 35.
Thank you, James. Any other questions for Leonard?
No.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, James.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Brady Rhodes. Okay, thank you. With that, that's our last for our speakers. Leonard, I'll turn to you.
Yeah, so thanks to all of you for your comments this evening. It's great perspective that you just shared, and I can tell you that we hear about these issues every day. This is not new to me, and I'm glad that you kind of expanded on your comments, frankly, for everyone to hear. So that's super useful. Staff hears it from me, and staff, I think, is acutely aware of these issues and working hard in the context that they can to be part of the solution and not be irresponsible. I can guarantee you that. Certainly the issue here is, as you all know, that pre-existing agreement, which we cannot ignore. The city cannot ignore that, and it makes it very difficult for us to influence the decisions by a developer. They have the right to do what they want to do. Complicating this further is the fact that this was part of an ETJ, and as I've communicated, I think, to the association and homeowners, that in terms of as good as it was going to get, I'll go through a couple things that illuminate that. But to be clear, with the ETJ, the developer had almost universal right to build whatever they'd like. And so we thought it was in the best interest of the city, of the area, to try to put some controls around that and some boundaries around exactly what that development was going to be like. So we've worked hard, and I want to thank Dana and staff for their guidance and perspective here, your input, because it's been going on for, I don't know, 6-8 months now. And I think we've gotten to a better place than we otherwise were, because I believe you all saw the original plans that, for example, were only A5, right? And to me, that was just, certainly that was something totally unacceptable for all the reasons that you articulated and outlined, which again, we're very aware of. So, I do want to just illuminate for the record, just what that evolution was. And I do want to comment, I mentioned earlier Wagley Robertson, that was just, I misspoke about that. Certainly just Bonds Ranch Road we're talking about for the developer. But so that original plan, and I think we did hear from Matt a couple of these things, but again, just to quickly illuminate them, reinforce them, that it was not and is not probably as certainly it is not as profitable as it would have been as a singularly A5 development. So there has been some give in terms of the financial investment, so to speak, from the developer. So, reducing the total number of lots from 157 from the original land plan to the current, lots by 157 from 2,071 to 1,019 roughly. The density is now 2.7 units per acre instead of three units. Increased the lot size for the lots that abut the existing neighborhoods. They expanded the single family for rent acreage from 20 acres to 27 for greater open space and to eliminate any variance requests. They changed the commercial zoning request from the general commercial to neighborhood, which will help something we really push for, which will help with some of those commercial needs that the area has. They eliminated the long blocks and all variance requests, and over 220 acres shall be open space, parkland, wet detention ponds, and a trail system throughout. We did outline the MOU, so I don't think at this time I'll go through that, but that was shared with the association. There are great deal of costs that the developer is now taking on, great deal of responsibilities that they're taking on as well, both in management and aesthetics, that the neighborhoods will be insured, will go forward. So it's a difficult situation. It's a no-win for me. I can tell you that. We're doing our best, again, with staff to control, and control is not the right word, but to manage our growth in a responsible way, focusing on roads, focusing on those emergency services. We're not ignoring those at all. And so we're, in fact, ensuring that response times are where they need to be. So with that said, I'm going to move to approve the project here, and we can move forward.
Thanks, Leonard. I'm going to motion on the floor. A second, council. Carlos, I'm sorry. Go ahead, please. You're muted.
I was just seconding, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Got a motion and a second. Any other discussion, council? If not, please vote. Motion carries.
Next item is ZC-22-016.
We have one speaker, Christopher Bonilla. Hi, Christopher.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Council Member Williams for his guidance, direction, and input on this zoning case to date. And with that said, I would ask your consideration of a withdrawal of ZC 22016.
Any questions from Jared?
No questions, and thank you, Mr. Bonilla, for all the hard work along the road. I know we didn't get to the outcome that we wanted to, but I still support the zoning work that we did to change the use, and look forward to working with you potentially in the future on another use. So thanks so much for your diligent efforts, and you know, I hate it didn't work out the way we wanted to at the beginning.
Thanks, Jared.
And with that, I move to accept the withdrawal.
Okay, I've got a motion. Second. Perfect, motion and a second. Please vote. Motion carries.
Next item is ZC-22-047.
We have one speaker, only there's opposition, Mary Nell Poole. Turn to Councilmember Beck.
Move to approve.
Motion and a second, please vote. Motion carries.
ZC-22-053.
Our first speaker on this item is Sandy Martinez.
Are my slides here?
You have any slides? There we go. Okay.
That's in the middle. Can you go to the beginning? There you go. All right. Sandy Martinez, Fort Worth. Okay. Okay. The last two council meetings and again today, we voiced our concerns on disapproval of this zoning change request. The bottom line is we are being asked to allow this business to infringe upon our privacy so a profit can be made. This is our home. This is where we live. This is where we plan to retire. Next slide, please. Next slide. Next slide. On May 22nd, Mr. Sorrell invited us for a greet and meet. We met with him. We voiced our concerns. We left empty-handed as he didn't have any real answers or solutions. Next slide, please. To put this in perspective, this is a view of my backyard. It's very close to the road and very close to the lot that he wants to put his business on. Our neighbors are a close-knit community. We spend a lot of time with each other in our backyards on a weekly basis. We want to continue to have decent conversations with each other and not have to talk over loud noises, idling engines, back and forth traffic, or the smell of diesel fuel. As you can see, this road is very close, it's narrow, and it's the only in and out road that Mr. Sorrell plans on using. Next slide, please. When two vehicles are on this road, one coming, the other going, one vehicle will be forced to back up a good distance as there is no room for two vehicles on this road at the same time. If one or both vehicles tried to drive off the shoulder just enough to pass each other, then that's where we start the erosion process that affects our property. And God forbid if they try to drive on the shoulder during a winter time. Next slide, please. This is Mr. Sorrell's bus. As you can see, it takes up more than half of the road. If another commercial vehicle comes, they won't be able to pass. And then we begin the obnoxious backup beeping sound of the vehicles. Next slide, please. At our meet and greet, Mr. Sorrell assured us that he would have no more than 6 buses on his new lot. But if that is the case, why purchase more than double of what he has now? If this land gets changed to industrial, Mr. Sorrell would be free to put 100 buses on his lot. Regardless, we don't want 6, 15, or 50 buses going back and forth 24/7 behind our peaceful homes. Next slide, please. Next slide. Next slide. The purpose and intent of industrial use is not to be noxious or offensive. How will these buses not be harmful or unpleasant? How does this rezoning benefit the entire community? As the ordinance says, benefit the entire community. It doesn't. It only benefits one person. And we just want to live in peace.
Thank you, Sandy.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Shelley Hessel-Coons. Shelley here? Okay, no worries. Kathleen Richardson? No? And last is Holly Bryant. No? Okay, that's the last of our speakers, Gina.
Thank you. I'm always excited when I see people from District 5 show up. It's been a long, oh yeah. Been a long time since we had to put on red shirts, but I'm glad to see you tonight. And with no more speakers, I can tell you my office has talked with this applicant over and over and over again. And we, when I say we, Sandy, my assistant, and I are of the same opinion as you, just too many unanswered questions. And so not only am I going to uphold the recommendation to deny from the Zoning Commission, I'm going to issue a denial with prejudice. And that's my motion.
Got a motion on the floor? Got a motion, council. Can I get a second? Motion and a second. Any other discussion? Please, where you're red. Please vote.
Thank you guys for coming. Melissa, I'm a yes, of course. Thank you all for coming. And you don't have to stay the rest of the night. We're the only ones a hostage here. So I know you got to drive back.
Next item is ZC-22-041.
One speaker, Darren Norman.
Hi, I'm Darren Norman of 3108 West 6th Street, Urban Worth Company. In respect to your time, I'll refrain from making a presentation, just make myself available for any questions you might have.
Thank you, Darren. I'll turn to Councilmember Beck.
Thank you, Darren. I really appreciate your work on this, and I'm sorry that it got delayed and you had to come back. So with that, I move to approve.
A motion and a second. Please vote. Motion passes.
ZC-22-081.
No speakers on this one. Councilmember Williams? It's 22081. Brendan?
Just to add for the record, we met with the developers on this one, and we've been in communication. On this one, I had a really tough time with it because while, you know, the use is really important, I think we also balance the need for neighborhood commercial, particularly off of Hewlin and Risinger. And so the developer and I will be working together to find another location for this that doesn't compete with our neighborhood commercial needs in the district. So I'll deny, but I do that with anticipation of opportunities at this property for mixed use.
Thank you, Jared. Motion and a second. Please vote.
SP-22-008.
We have one speaker, Leonard Travis Clegg, but only if there's opposition, which there appears to be none.
Move to approve.
Thank you. Got a motion and a second, council? Please vote. Motion carries.
ZC-22-027.
We have two speakers on this item, Michael. The first is Remington Wheat, followed by Mohammed Sharaf.
Mayor, Remington only wanted to speak if there was opposition.
Okay,
and there's none.
very well. And then I'll go to Mohammed.
Nope, I am here to answer any questions or comments. We've spent many months working with the community and with Councilmember Crane, and look forward to hearing your feedback and hopefully earning your support.
Thank you.
Thank you. You can stay up there, Mohammed, for just a second. I just want to say thank you for bringing this forward and working with us on this. I think it's, as we're doing a lot of the revitalization on the west part of Fort Worth, I appreciate you looking at this. Mayor, you'll remember this. We got a little bit of resistance. This is the access point to All Saints where your children go.
Yeah.
But it was going to be a truck stop and a truck car wash, et cetera. But you worked through a lot of those points, and I appreciate that. There'll be a Starbucks there. This is a gas station, but with a nice eating facility as part of it, too. So I really appreciate you working with the neighborhood, working with the interested parties around to make this happen. And so I do have a motion, and I'll read this to make sure it's part of the record. Motion to approve the conditional use permit to allow a 4-lane automated car wash facility in F General Commercial with the submission of a revised site plan showing the following. 1, 2 access points to I-820 southbound access road, 2 additional landscape buffer hedge, a minimum of 3 feet in height along the Loop 820 frontage road east property line in front of the 11 vacuum spaces by the exit ramp and deceleration lane. 3 additional street trees along the west property line, Alameda Street, frontage north of the out parcel to provide additional height above the planned 6-foot precast concrete wall panel and provide a softer landscape buffer from the large car wash area and the single-family residential neighborhood to the west. 4, and approve waivers for vacuum location and a freeway sign to be 434 square feet and 50 feet tall.
Thank you, Michael. Got a motion and a second, council? And please vote.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Next item is ZC-22-042.
No speakers on this, Carlos?
Move for approval, Mayor.
Give me a second, council. Second. Please vote. Motion carries.
ZC-22-056.
We have a few speakers, but looks like only if there's opposition. I do want to, so I'm going to make sure here, 2 no in opposition, Carlos. 1 is Wes Hoblet, who just checked will attend. Does Wes want to speak? I think I'll just be the only speaker. Okay. What's your name?
Andrew Ruig with Master Plan. Just want to briefly make a note that we are requesting to have this held under, or I guess, a continued 60 days so we can work out some additional items with the surrounding HOAs. So we just request that we continue this to the August 9th meeting for some conversation with Councilmember Flores. Thank you.
Sounds good, Andrew. Thank you. Carlos, you catch all that?
Yes, I did, and thank you, Andrew, for speaking with me earlier today about the concerns that the Marine Creek Ranch folks had. I believe at least 1 or 2 of them were in the audience earlier that may have left already, but we need to look at particulars like a turn lane on Hoof Hines and perhaps some enhanced landscaping, but appreciate you being willing to go 60 days on that. And with that, that's my motion.
Thank you. Been a motion, council. Second from Jared. Please vote.
ZC-22-063.
1 speaker, Jose Villalobos. Is Jose here? Nope. Turn to Councilmember Beck.
I'm going to move to continue this to, when is our next zoning?
August 9th.
August. I'm not going to do that to them. I'm going to continue it till the 28th to give them the opportunity to reach out to my office and let me know about this project.
Okay. Thanks, Elizabeth. A motion? Second. Any other discussion? Please vote. Motion carries.
Next item is ZC-22-068.
1 speaker, Michael, is Andrew Wiley. Andrew here? Hi, Andrew. No. Okay, very well. Motion, a second, anybody? Thank you, Elizabeth. Please vote.
Good call, man.
Motion carries.
ZC-22-069.
First speaker is Charlie Fowler. Is Charlie here? There's Charlie. Followed by Carl Malcolm.
Carl will be making the presentation. I will be here to answer any questions.
Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Carl Malcolm with JHP Architects. I'm the architect on this project, and I did bring a presentation, but in respect for your time, I'll defer to Councilman Firestone. If you feel like we need to do that, I will do it. If not, I'll hold for questions.
I do not need it.
Okay.
Thank you. That's the last of our speakers, Leonard.
So I'm going to move to approve, and want to just check the way to do that because there's 2 parcels here recommended for denial on the eastern and approval on the western. I want to move to approve for both parcels.
Okay. Motion, and thank you. Motion and a second. Any other discussion, council? Please vote. Jared, oh, he's not here. There we go. Motion carries.
Next item is ZC-22-070.
One speaker on this, Leonard, it's John Pitstick. Thank you, John. Councilmember Firestone.
Move to approve.
Thank you. Please vote, council. You good to go, Melissa? There you go. Sorry, that's okay. Motion passes.
Next item is ZC-22-072.
One speaker, Elizabeth, only if there's opposition. Stephen Cook.
Move to approve.
Second, council. Thank you. Please vote. Okay, perfect. Motion passes.
Next item is ZC-22-073.
Juliet George.
Good evening. I have a slideshow, but you all may have already seen it. In the interest of time, I'll be glad to show it, but what's your pleasure?
I'll turn to Councilmember Crane.
Thank you, Juliet, for being here. I'll just make a note. This is a historical museum that's going in Arlington Heights, Como area. Very supportive of it. I think we've all seen the presentation, and I'm going to move to approve.
Please vote, council.
Yeah, thank you.
Motion carries.
Thank you. I didn't identify myself. I live in Councilmember Firestone's district. The proposed museum is in Ms. Beck's district and right on the edge of Mr. Crane's district. So thank you all so much.
Thank you, Juliet. Appreciate it.
ZC-22-075.
One speaker, Troy Clark.
No, thanks. I'll say this. This is a great use of the property with all the development in the Las Vegas Trail area. I just want to note, this is Birchland Baptist Church's property, that it could have been another multifamily, but instead we're making some good commercial property out of it there. So I appreciate your work on that, Cannon. Thank you very much. So with that, I'll move to approve.
Thank you, Michael. We've got a motion on the floor. Can I get a second, council? Thank you, Leonard. Please vote. Motion carries.
Next item is ZC-22-078.
We have a few speakers on this one, Leonard. The first is a call, Kit Ulrich.
Kit?
She's only going to speak if there's opposition.
Please go ahead.
I am on, but I only will speak unless there's opposition. If you guys need me to save you time.
Thanks, Kit. I'll turn to Leonard. Think you're good.
Okay, great. Thank you, Kit. Just before I move to approve this, I do want to recognize Jim Atterbury, who I see over there, who's been the longtime president of the Monticello Homeowners or Neighborhood Association. And thank you, Jim, for your patience in getting something, I think, very important done for the neighborhood. So we appreciate your leadership. Also want to recognize Kit Ulrich, who's on the line, for her hard work with you, Jim, and the other board members and neighbors to get this done for the neighborhood again. I think it's a great day for Monticello and a great future. So we appreciate you very much. So with that, I'd like to move to approve.
A motion and a second. Any other discussion, council? Please vote. Motion carries.
Next item is MMC-22-0416.
Judges, plural. Yeah, probably feels that way.
Danny Rogers, Chief Judge. I've heard stories of how hard you work, but I've never had the opportunity to sit and observe you. So thank you for all the work that you do. And with that, it's my pleasure to present to you the lady who's the subject of this MNC, Carla Kelman, a 19-year veteran as a substitute judge. And I would ask that you approve her as a new full-time judge for the Fort Worth Municipal Court.
Of course. Thank you. And welcome, Carla. We're excited to welcome you to the City of Fort Worth permanently in this position. Yeah. Thank you. Any other comments from council? Councilmember Beck?
I'm going to move to approve very enthusiastically on this one. I happen to know Carla. She took in a baby lawyer once upon a time and taught me a lot. And so I've seen firsthand how she works with others and how she cares for her community. And I think she is going to be an amazing addition to the city of Fort Worth. So welcome.
Motion and a second. Michael, do you have anything to say? Okay, you're good. We can vote, council. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Go ahead, Leonard. Yeah. Okay, we'll vote.
Not on this particular case, but just it's late, and I forgot to note and thank Beth Knight for her work that she did in a really professional and gracious manner with the neighborhood. And it's probably a little late for her to be watching, but I just wanted to note that for the record.
Thanks. You, Leonard. Yeah, you can go. You're good. You're good. Okay. You good?
MMC-22-0433.
We have no speakers on this item, council. Motion and a second. Please vote. Michael. Motion carries.
MMC 22-0450.
No speakers on this item, council. Motion. Thank you. Thank you. Motion and a second. Please vote. Motion passes.
Next item is a reconsideration of MMC 22-0392.
Councilmember Flores?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I move to approve, or I move to reconsider MNC 22-0392.
I've got a motion, council. Motion and a second from Crane. Please vote. Motion carries. I'm not laughing at you. It's just, I know it's a lot of clicking you're having to do because of the system.
All right, Mayor, I think I'm on again here
Yes, you
on
are.
the matter of the condemnation motion. Okay, so I'm just going to read in some appropriate language. I move that the City of Fort Worth Council adopt a resolution authorizing use of the power of eminent domain to acquire .3559 acres in fee simple from real property owned by West Crest Partners LLC. The property is needed for the Decatur Hazardous Road Overtopping Mitigation Project, a public use that will provide channel improvements for Leeville Channel upstream and downstream of 28th Street and Decatur Avenue as part of the Levo Channel Master Plan improvements. The land rights in the improved subject property are needed for the continuation of improvements to Levo Channel and will mitigate the risk of hazardous road overtopping near the intersection to better protect drivers from road flooding. It will also reduce flooding at 28th Street Railroad Underpass west of the intersection during intense storm events as necessary. The property is located at 2812 Decatur Avenue in the Martin Roddy Survey, Abstract 1370, Tarrant County, Texas. The property interest is acquired and is described by meets and bounds and depicted by survey exhibits attached to this mayor and council communication.
Thank you, Carlos. Got a motion? Motion and a second. Please vote.
Next item, MNC 22-0414.
No speakers on this, Elizabeth. Motion and a second. Please vote.
Next item is MMC 22-0453.
No speakers on this item, council. Motion and a second. Please vote. Motion carries.
Next item is MNC 22-0457.
No speakers on this, Elizabeth. Motion and a second. Please vote. Motion carries.
Mayor, I believe that concludes all of the items for tonight.
Perfect. That would be it, council. And with that, we are adjourned.